Chapter 23:16. Silver Moon Supreme Beast Roar. Its angry roar spread throughout the entire village, causing the expressions of Great Commander Xueqi and the others in the distance to change drastically. A terrifying pressure pressed down on everyone like a cover. Commander Xueqi and the others knew that they had encountered an extremely troublesome existence. I knew it. Where there are 8 Hellcorpse worms, there must be that thing. Sigh. At this moment, Lin Ling, who was walking forward, also stopped and smiled faintly. Is that beast very difficult to deal with? It seems to be extremely powerful. Great Commander Xueqi and the others all acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They knew that a fierce battle was coming. Difficult to deal with? No, I'm actually very interested in its blood. Sigh. However, Lin Ling's next words stunned them all. Could it be food again? Lin Ling had swallowed the 8 Hellcorpse worms and seemed to be able to increase his body's strength. Now, Lin Ling seemed to want to stuff that unknown demon beast into his stomach as well. Commander Xueqi and the others were all stunned. If they weren't too familiar with Lin Ling, they would definitely think that Lin Ling was joking. Bang bang. At this moment, 2 explosions sounded out. A man and a beast were quietly sitting on top of a dilapidated blue brick house. Their emotionless eyes stared at Lin Ling and the others with ridicule. As for the silver-furred 2-headed lion, it even licked its lips, revealing its shining teeth. 3 people at the first stage of the World King realm and 2 martial emperors. They seemed to be from the martial god camp. How could the martial god camp send such trash to their deaths? The man sitting beside the 2-headed lion played with his nails and said with disdain, "Before you die, I'll tell you." However, before he finished speaking, Lin Ling interrupted him. "You don't need to introduce yourself. We have no interest in your name." As these words fell, the man was stunned. Then, blue veins popped out on his forehead. This was the first time he had seen such an infuriating junior. What a glib tongue. Die for me. He was too lazy to speak any more nonsense. He leapt up and his second stage of the World King realm cultivation erupted. His boundary spirit was extremely large. He was no longer extracting the energy of a realm. It was as if he was a realm himself. And a world spirit was the symbol of the World King boundary. Only after fusing with one's talent would it be born in the Dantian. Let's kill the 2 older ones first. We'll slowly kill the remaining 3 later. His palm appeared, and green light flourished. It was as if countless plants were growing out of his body. In his eyes, these people were already dead. Old brother Xueqi, old brother Linghu, hold him back. I'll deal with that Silver Moon Supreme Beast. Lin Ling licked his lips and immediately warned. Up in the sky, when the man heard Lin Ling's words, his pupils trembled violently. He roared angrily. "How do you know that my beast is a Silver Moon Supreme Beast?" As far as he was concerned, these ants would never know about the existence of the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. "What I know is beyond your imagination." Lin Ling didn't even look at him. Instead, he walked towards the Silver Moon Supreme Beast on the roof. "You overestimate yourself." The man didn't bother with Lin Ling. In his opinion, this boy wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between the Silver Moon Supreme Beast's teeth. In truth, he came from the Dragon Tooth sect. This was an ancient beast taming sect of the martial god world. Their beast taming methods were extremely amazing, and he had found the Silver Moon Supreme Beast near the 8 gods' heavenly palace. At that time, he had been overjoyed, thinking that the beast he would fight for the rest of his life would be the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. And with his talent fused with his world essence, in addition to the unique cultivation methods of the Dragon Tooth sect, he could forcefully control a powerful god beast. In addition, he had used the 8 Hellcorpse bug as bait and finally succeeded in signing a life and death contract with the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. And now, this boy actually wanted to approach the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. Naturally, he wouldn't spare him a glance. This was because the Silver Moon Supreme Beast was known for its ferocity and terror. Even though he had signed a life and death contract with the Silver Moon Supreme Beast, he had still experienced many dangers. Fight! At that moment, Xueqi and Linghu Lei joined forces and pounced on the man. Lin Ling walked calmly towards the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. His calm demeanor made Gong Yongjiang and Tang Yue widen their eyes. They were afraid that Lin Ling would be swallowed whole. Roar! The Silver Moon Supreme Beast stared coldly at Lin Ling and licked its lips. It was ready to attack. However, at that moment, Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. He stretched out his hands and an 8 hell corpse bug appeared in his palms. This instantly attracted the Silver Moon Supreme Beast's attention. After all, this was its favorite food. However, Lin Ling quickly clasped his palms together and rubbed his hands together a few times. Then he stretched out 2 fists. This scene made the crowd even more puzzled. Even the man fighting in the sky had a puzzled look on his face. What was that kid doing? Tell me, where is the 8 hell corpse bug? If you guess correctly, there will be a prize. However, Lin Ling's next sentence almost made everyone's jaws drop to the ground. Lin Ling was playing with the Silver Moon Supreme Beast? Lunatic, Silver Moon, swallow him. The man in the sky suddenly felt like he was being toyed with. His face turned ashen. His divine beast was being toyed with like Whitey. This was a great humiliation. Roar! The Silver Moon Supreme Beast roared and flew down from the roof. It was even taller than Lin Ling when it squatted down. At that moment, it stared at Lin Ling with its lantern-like eyes. However, at the next moment, something ridiculous happened. The Silver Moon Supreme Beast did not swallow Lin Ling. Instead, it sat down in front of Lin Ling. It stretched out its huge lion claws and pointed at one of Lin Ling's fists. It was actually guessing. It was really playing with Lin Ling. Silver Moon. In the sky, the man's voice became sharp. However, the Silver Moon Supreme Beast did not pay attention to him. Instead, it stared at Lin Ling as if it was waiting for an answer. In fact, the man from the Dragon Tooth sect did not know that the 8 hell corpse bug was the Silver Moon Supreme Beast's favorite food. How could it not be moved when it saw food? Not bad, very smart. Unfortunately, you guessed wrong. Lin Ling smiled faintly and opened his fist. There was nothing in his palm. Roar! The Silver Moon Supreme Beast was indeed a barbaric divine beast. It was furious. It obviously wanted to eat the 8 hell corpse bug, but Lin Ling rejected it. It opened its mouth and emitted a terrifying divine beast's aura. Lin Ling. Seeing this, Gong Yongjiang and the rest shouted anxiously. The man in the sky sneered. Plucking the fur from the tiger's mouth was simply courting death. At this moment, Lin Ling's expression was still calm. However, the way he stared at the Silver Moon Supreme Beast had changed, especially in his left eye. Mysterious Taoist seals appeared one after another, as if invisible eyes had entered the Silver Moon Supreme Beast's eyes and reached its soul. Papa! At that moment, the life and death contract between the Silver Moon Supreme Beast and the man disappeared as if it had met fire. The seal hidden in the depths of the Silver Moon Supreme Beast's soul also distorted and was destroyed. Chapter 23:17. Breaking the array. Of course, it took a lot of Lin Ling's soul power and realm essence to use it, but it was a success. Lin Ling walked up to the Silver Moon Supreme Beast and stroked its huge head. The silver lion showed a look of enjoyment and immediately lay down beside Lin Ling. Silver Moon, Silver Moon. In the sky, the man almost vomited blood. He kept calling, but there was no response. He roared, "Boy, what did you do to my Silver Moon?" "Nothing, he saw that I'm more handsome than you, so he decided to follow me." Lin Ling looked up and replied indifferently. "Puh." The man spat out a mouthful of blood. The divine beast that he had spent so much effort to capture was following someone else because he was not as handsome as the young man? How could he believe this? Good chance. Huang Qi and Ling Hulei saw that the man was distracted and injured, so they quickly used their ultimate skills to suppress the man. In fact, if something else disappeared, the man would not care. However, the disappearance of the divine beast was like the disappearance of his martial heart. How could he not be affected? Silver Moon, kill him, listen to my command. Yes. The man was still unwilling, but in his eyes, Lin Ling was talking to the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. Lin Ling said, "Little Silver, give me some of your blood." Yes. Yes. The silver lion let out a sound of obedience and nodded. "I'm not willing." Yes. The man was stunned in the sky. His face was ferocious, and he spat out blood again as if he had been seriously injured. He fell from the sky. Huang Qi and Ling Hulei were stunned. They won just like that? Follow up the victory. Without any hesitation, they also followed closely behind. Huge amounts of Jie Yuan attacks were unleashed, directly killing that man. Then they stared at Lin Ling, who was drinking blood, and shook their heads speechlessly. This battle had been won in such a bizarre manner. The terrifying silver lion was subdued by Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling was swallowing the blood of the Silver Moon Supreme Beast. As the boiling blood entered his body, his god-devil physique began to increase crazily, advancing towards the power of 3,000 universes. And 3,000 universes represented the weight of a world. And Lin Ling's god-devil body's defense became even stronger. Of course, this was to be expected. The Silver Moon Sovereign Beast was a Hellwarden beast. Its blood was naturally extremely precious. This fellow's strength has increased again. I'm afraid that you and I are no match for him. Huang Qi and the other man sighed as they looked at Lin Ling. They felt that Lin Ling's cultivation seemed to have no bottlenecks at all. He could raise his strength at any time. Awesome. A moment later, Lin Ling stood up, and an ancient demonic aura appeared behind him. That was the power of the universe's demonic gods. He felt incomparably comfortable, as if he had fought 3 battles with great beings. And with the improvement of his god-devil physique, his temperament had also changed slightly. He was even more domineering, as proud as a god and as crazy as a devil. Lin Ling knew that this was a change brought about by his physical body entering a new realm. It would take some time for him to get used to it. Little Silver, follow me. Then, Lin Ling looked at the Silver Moon Supreme Beast and said. The silver lion looked a little tired. After nodding, it turned into a little silver puppy and lay on Lin Ling's shoulder. So cute. Tang Yue rubbed her hands. If she didn't know that it was a terrifying Silver Moon Supreme Beast, she would have already hugged it and played with it. Okay, go and kill the rest of them. Lin Ling looked into the distance. He knew that the mysterious experts were still setting up the array in the depths of the village. And to these people, Lin Ling didn't have the slightest bit of mercy. Because the corpses along the way had told him that being merciful to them was being cruel to himself. At this moment, in the village, 5 figures were still sitting cross-legged. 3 of them were old men, and the other 2 were a man and a woman. The man was wise and mighty, and the woman was charming like a peach blossom. The 5 of them came from powerful forces in the martial god realm. They were setting up the array here so that the experts who entered the 8 gods' heavenly palace wouldn't encounter the 8 hell corpse worms. Old Wu has been gone for a long time. One of the old men suddenly laughed. That guy couldn't have brought the Silver Moon Supreme Beast out to play, right? I think so. It's too much. We're setting up the array here, but he's slacking off. If we report this to the Lord, he'll be in big trouble. Haha. Old Wu knows the severity of the matter. He won't go far. I think he's too bored, so he's playing with the invaders. The others spoke one after another. And then, there was a burst of laughter. They weren't worried about the man from before at all, because with the Silver Moon Supreme Beast, any invaders would die. This 8 gods' heavenly palace is really big. The 8 hell corpse worms are endless, and this is only one of our positions. The other 11 positions are also setting up arrays. It's like the 8 hell corpse worms. The first old man said again. Not good. There's a change in the array. Suddenly, someone cried out in alarm. That was because a corner of the array that he controlled had become chaotic at this moment. This made it difficult for him to control it. In reality, they weren't boundary masters. The array was set up by boundary masters, and they were only in charge of the operation of the array. Use all of your realm essence to force the array to operate again. Otherwise, if there's a problem on your side, we'll be implicated. The old man immediately said. When Family City? Were you distracted before? Why would there be a problem with the array? The others grumbled. The person who controlled the corner of the array was extremely wronged. When he used his realm essence to forcibly operate the array, a terrifying power was immediately reflected back. Puh. He spat out blood and was immediately seriously injured. Once his array was broken, the others were immediately implicated. Puh, puh, puh. The other 3 also spat out blood. Their minds were buzzing as if they had been seriously injured. No, it's not the array that's wrong. Someone is framing us. Finally, someone let out a furious roar. Impossible. Is there anyone else here other than us? The old man's expression changed drastically. Then he shouted, Who is it? Get out here. In reality, he wasn't sure if someone was framing them. He was just shouting in a moment of desperation. Why are you shouting so loudly? We heard you. However, his shout was effective. A few figures slowly walked over. It was Lin Ling and the others. This scene immediately caused the old man's mouth to open wide in disbelief. "Where's old Wu?" The woman who was as charming as a peach blossom let out a sharp voice. "Is that the guy who raised the dog? He's dead." Lin Ling sneered and led Huang Qi and the others forward. Previously, they had secretly destroyed the array, and now they saw the effect. In reality, this array couldn't stop Lin Ling at all. "Old Wu is dead? Impossible, you're lying to us." "Kid, tell me, how did you come in? If you lie, don't blame me for being ruthless." Those injured people stared at Lin Ling. They were furious, and their eyes were filled with killing intent. Hearing this, Lin Ling laughed. "I lied to you? You'd better go to hell and ask the dog owner." Chapter 23:18. God's Fall. Prairie Boom. 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 Two of them were smashed into pieces by the terrifying power of the barrier. The remaining three widened their eyes in disbelief. In reality, they did not believe that Lin Ling had broken the array, nor did they believe that old Wu was dead. However, they seemed to believe it now. "Little brother, how about letting us go? We were only following orders and we were forced to do so. If we don't activate this array, they'll kill us. Pity me." The woman who was as charming as a peach blossom suddenly spoke coquettishly. At this moment, they were all heavily injured. Otherwise, they would have attacked long ago. Therefore, they were thinking of ways to stall for time. As long as they could recover a little of their strength, they would be able to kill the intruder. The more they looked at the handsome young man who was their leader, the more they disliked him. He was clearly young, but he acted as if he was an old man. They did not know which sect's detestable disciple he was from. "From what you've said, you're quite pitiful." At this moment, Lin Ling nodded in realization and looked at her sympathetically. "Lord Lin Ling." Tang Yue immediately reminded him. Lin Ling couldn't have been seduced by the woman's charms, could he? "Thank you, little brother. As long as you help me, I'll give you anything you want." The woman who was as charming as a peach blossom was delighted. The handsome young man seemed to have fallen for her trick. Indeed, young people were impulsive and could not escape from the palm of her hand. She immediately pulled down her clothes, revealing her smooth shoulders. Then, she quietly pulled her clothes down again, revealing her seductive cleavage. Since the handsome young man had been attracted to her, she must take advantage of her victory and pursue him. It would be best if she could make the young man lose himself in her beauty. Lin Ling stared at the woman and walked towards her, one step at a time. The other three were secretly delighted. This detestable brat had finally fallen for their trick. "Sister, am I beautiful?" The woman's voice became even more seductive. Her eyes were like peach blossoms. As long as one was a man, they would not be able to escape her bewitchment. However, just as the woman was anticipating that Lin Ling would become excited, Lin Ling actually sighed. "So? Sighing?" He seemed to be very disappointed with the woman's beauty. The woman immediately suffered a blow. She was famous for her charm in Qing province, and there weren't many men who didn't think she was beautiful. "Your skin is loose, your twin peaks are drooping, and your pores are thick. I say, sister, you should take care of yourself more. You're obviously an old witch who's thousands of years old. If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to meet people?" Lin Ling said with a serious expression. "Listen to my advice. Don't cultivate during this period of time, and don't stay up late. This will make you look older." He stared at the woman's body with a serious expression. The woman was stunned. This brat had seen her naked body, yet he gave her such a bad review? "You're courting death." The woman was so angry that her bosom was trembling. "You look even uglier when you're angry. It's better for women not to get angry." Lin Ling's expression was still serious, as if he was talking about a very serious matter. He pulled out his right hand, and the tyrant song sword appeared in his hand. "By the way, why did you take off your clothes for me to see? Do you think I'm bored? All the people in this village died at your hands. I don't understand where you got the leisure to take off your clothes in front of me." Lin Ling shook his head and slashed out with his sword. Little bastard. If the woman was not seriously injured, she would have gone berserk at this moment. She had acted coquettishly, but in the end, he didn't care at all and still wanted to kill her. Most importantly, he seemed to be toying with her. Unfortunately, her anger was the last anger in her life. He ended her with a single slash. Lin Ling looked at the remaining two people, and their faces turned pale. Only now did they realize that this strange young man was not as simple as they thought. He was not as simple as they thought. I'm from the Eternal Sect. The old man suddenly gritted his teeth. Although it was very embarrassing, he still reported his background. I don't know. Unfortunately, Lin Ling answered him with a single slash. Lin Ling really did not know the Eternal Sect. The other person's pupils trembled violently, and he said subconsciously, I'm from only Commandery. You should know this, right? What does it have to do with me? Unfortunately, Lin Ling did not listen and continued to kill. The 5 people were all killed. The village's boundary array was broken, and the 8 hell corpse worms that had rushed into the martial god world slowly disappeared. Gong Yongjiang and the others stared at Lin Ling speechlessly. They came from different places. Even only Commandery is involved. It seems like this is a big plan. Lin Ling, what should we do next? Huang Qi and Ling Hulei looked at Lin Ling. They came to investigate the situation with the intention of dying, but who knew that under Lin Ling's lead, they would go deeper and deeper. Continue to investigate. Lin Ling looked indifferently into the distance and smiled. He came here to take back the space-time divine steel, so how could he return home so easily? The group continued to move forward. In front of them was a vast swamp with few people, as if it was a devil's prison. However, there were traces of people walking around, as if a large number of people had passed by not long ago. God's Fall Plains. At the edge of the great swamp, Lin Ling's eyes shined with a nostalgic light. He had come to this great swamp before. We're getting closer and closer to the 8 Divinity Heavenly Palace. Moreover, I estimate that there should be a large number of people up ahead. They should have been captured as cannon fodder. We can blend in with them. Lin Ling waved his hand and led the group forwards once more. The swamp was extremely strange. Bubbles would occasionally float up from the ground. After these bubbles burst open, they would emit poisonous gas. And on top of a hard hill in the great swamp, a large number of people were standing there. Looking carefully, one could see that these people were exhausted. Most of them were at the martial emperor realm. And not too far away from them, there were over a dozen first-level world king powerhouses guarding them, as if they were waiting for something. And at the center of the hill, several figures were standing there. They were like sons of the highest heavens, exuding a noble and arrogant aura. I never thought that your 9 stars mansion would also participate in this plan. A smiling voice suddenly floated out. This voice was soft and gentle, as if a spring breeze were caressing one's face. Haha, there are many people participating in this plan. I heard that there are Heavenly Court, Soaring Dragon Organization, and so forth. Moreover, isn't your Grand Court Commandery also participating? On the other side, a black-clothed woman faintly smiled. She held a sickle as tall as a person in her hands. On this sickle, there were 2 eyes carved into it, as if the sickle had come to life. So what if we participate? The 8 Divinity Heavenly Palace isn't a place that just anyone can enter. The people behind this plan have gathered so many great influences. From a certain point of view, they are just having us explore the map. Another youth laughed. He wore golden clothes and had an elegant demeanor. This person came from Solitaire Commandery. His name was Luo Dazhuang, and his reputation within the 4 commanderies wasn't weak. Trash is here to explore the map. We are here to collect treasures. The youth who spoke first laughed. I dare you to say that again. Luo Dazhuang shouted out. Chapter 23:19. Enslavement. Qing Province's 4 great commanderies market was destroyed? Beside him, the woman in black suddenly showed an interested look. Anyway, it was very boring to wait for news, so she might as well listen to what happened during this period of time. Tai Tianyi, you're talking nonsense. If that guy didn't use the martial god cannon, he wouldn't have been able to destroy our market. Yi Xiaoshou is the clearest about this. He had a 5-year battle with that ant, and he lost an arm. Luo Yazhuang retorted. He and the young man called Tai Tianyi were not on good terms. At this moment, the black-clothed woman's eyes narrowed. Not to mention him, even the faces of the guards around him changed drastically. Yi Xiaoshou was the #1 genius of the Yi clan and the martial clan. He was extremely talented. Not only was he a member of the 3 great academies, but he was also a member of the Heavenly Court. Although his background was not as good as theirs, they still had to look up to him in terms of potential and background. But now, Yi Xiaoshuo had lost an arm, and there was a 5-year battle with him. That junior is so powerful? The woman in black was shocked. Haha, he's just a piece of trash. He won by surprise with the martial god cannon. If I was there I could kill him with a finger. Luo Yazhuang shook his head disdainfully. Luo Yazhuang, do you really think you're brilliant? I don't care what excuses you come up with. You can't escape the fact that your market was destroyed. I can only say that your only commandery is too trashy. Tai Tianyi continued to mock and ridicule. Tai Tianyi, don't be too arrogant. Luo Yaoshu's face became more and more unsightly. He suddenly sneered and said, I heard that the branch family of your Grand Court Commandery in the Northland was also wiped out. Young Master Thousand Face died a miserable death. His 9 doppelgangers were killed one by one. Haha, it's a shame that he died in a rural place. Does your Grand Court Commandery like to do such things? Luo Yazhuang, I dare you to say that again. To Tai Tianyi, this sentence was like a wound being torn open. The smile on his face disappeared. Tit for tat. Around the hill, the geniuses from various worlds watched this scene with solemn expressions. They could only look up to the local geniuses of the martial god world. As for the 2 martial god realm geniuses from the commandery, their auras became more and more intense. It seemed like they were about to attack. Don't argue. If we ruin this, we'll all be eliminated. However, the black-clothed woman immediately interrupted them, causing the 2 of them to not dare to say anything more. What are you laughing at? Dang. Although the 2 of them had stopped because of their plan, Luo Yaoyang was still in a bad mood. Luo Yaoyang stared at the geniuses from all over the world and ruthlessly punched out. The sand suddenly floated up, forming an ancient god desert. A huge sandstorm fist smashed into the crowd. This was an attack that fused innate talent and world essence, drawing upon the power of the sand world. Boom! The peerless punch sent sand and pebbles flying. Heaven and earth seemed to have changed greatly. How could a martial emperor withstand it? He was directly blown into a pile of bones. Humph! Seeing this, Luo Yaoshu felt slightly better. Do you think you're the only one who knows how to do this? However, Tai Tianyi, who was at the side, did not dare to show any weakness. He raised his hands and circles of light that resembled halos shrouded the area. A large number of people in the east were caught in the light. In just a moment, a large number of screams rang out. Ah, what kind of fire is this? Roar! Those who were shrouded in the fire panicked. Then, they let out beastly roars and lay down one by one, as if they were beasts that were obeying orders. Their souls were instantly enslaved by the mysterious beast fire. So it's you lowly people from the outside world? Tai Tianyi's face was full of disdain. The death of the 1,000-faced prince in the myriad world had brought shame to the Grand Court Commandery, so he was venting his anger. Dang! He shouted in a low voice. Bang bang bang! Those who were implanted with the beast fire exploded and died. Those who did not explode were burned alive by the flames that were born in their bodies. Lowly people like you are not qualified to be my slaves. Tai Tianyi smiled as if he had vented his anger. Then, he looked at Luo Yaoshu provocatively. The crowd was silent. The local geniuses of the martial god world were too powerful. To them, who had just arrived in the martial god world, they were like the firmament of the sky. Among the crowd, several figures were looking ahead solemnly. The geniuses of the martial god world are too powerful. Their talents have already merged with their boundary essence. We have just formed our boundary essence, but they have already converted 100% of their boundary essence. I wonder how Master is doing now. If Lin Ling was here, he would definitely recognize them. This was because they were Shen Yuan Go Dark Dragon Emperor, and the others. They were on their way to the martial god camp, but they were kidnapped and brought here. Throughout the entire process, they could not resist at all. Now that they had seen how powerful the other party was, they knew that the martial god world was not simple. If Lin Ling were here, he would probably be an insignificant existence. He will be fine, Shen Yuan Go said with a smile, but her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. At this moment, the black-clothed woman on the hill suddenly asked curiously, the branch family of the Grand Court Commandery was destroyed, but my commandery's market was destroyed. Haha, do you know who did it? Of course we know. It was a piece of trash called Lin Ling. Of course. Our Grand Court Commandery's young Master Thousand Faces was killed by Lin Ling. Of course. the two young men said at the same time. After they finished speaking, they looked at each other, their eyes filled with surprise. They did not expect that the person who had humiliated their commandery was the same person. The black-clothed woman was also stunned. Who was this Lin Ling? He had offended two commanderies at the same time. Interesting, really interesting. Xian Yuan Gu'er and the others in the crowd were also stunned. It was their master. They could not help but feel secretly happy. At least these geniuses from the 10,000 worlds were not cowards. On the other side, several people in large cloaks were also looking at the hill. Some of them were speechless. They were Commander Huang Qi and Ling Hu Lei. This was because they did not expect that the powerful geniuses of the commandery to be the one they were talking about was Lin Ling. Subconsciously, the two of them looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling's face was calm, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Haha. Tang Yue laughed softly. She was also present when Lin Ling blew up the market square. She did not find it strange at this moment. Who are these people? Lin Ling did not care about the false reputation, but he was curious about the people on the hill. These people were all at the first level of the World King realm, but the feeling they gave him was that they were even stronger than Great Commander Huang Qi. Luo Dazzling, one of the 12 young masters of my commandery. He is a junior that is being nurtured by my commandery. He is going to enter the 3 great academies of the Azure State. Tang Yue explained. Lin Ling looked at her in confusion. Tang Yue was also from the 4 commanderies, so why was the difference so great? If you give me another 1,000 years to cultivate, I will definitely not be weaker than him. Tang Yue felt his gaze and said unwillingly. Lin Ling suddenly understood. It turned out that these people had cultivated for a longer time. No wonder they were so strong. What about the other one? Chapter 23:20. An unexpected calamity. Tai Tianyi. His father is the Grand Court Commandery's Tai 4 Symbols True God. This person also wants to enter Azure Province's 3 great academies. It is said that his talent comes from the extremely mysterious Beast Fire world. After obtaining the Beast Fire there, he once used it to burn 10 worlds. Qi. Tang Yue said. Qi. Hearing this, even Commander Huang Qi and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. With their strength, it wasn't difficult to destroy a world with a single punch. Of course, that was a weak world, such as Lin Ling's world. But destroying 10 worlds with a single move was impossible. From this, it could be seen the disparity between the two sides. It seems that we have underestimated this plan. According to my guess, this group of people is only one of the participants, but they are already so strong. If they are the main force, their strength will surpass our imagination. Grand Commander Huang Qi immediately analyzed, and then sighed. With the current situation, they would probably need to send out the Deputy General, the General and the General. If things went wrong, even the Marshal would have to move out. Then, should we retreat now? Yes. Ling Hu Lei looked at Lin Ling. Now that they had a rough understanding of the situation, it would be very dangerous to stay here. Lin Ling shook his head. Let's wait. Yes. Then let's be careful. If we are discovered, it will be difficult for us to escape death. Grand Commander Huang Qi warned. Lin Ling declined to comment. Although there were many World King powerhouses there, he estimated that none of them were his match. Now that his physical strength had greatly increased, he had comprehended the ultimate sword Dao, and his soul force had greatly increased. His overall strength had erupted, and even Commander Huang Qi and the others couldn't guess. Lin Ling, what is his background? Yes. On the hill, the black-clothed woman looked at Luo Yaoshe and asked again. It is said that he is from the martial god camp. Yes. Luo Yaoshe coldly replied, after I become a member of Azure Province's 3 great academies, I will personally go to the martial god camp and ask for him. Yes. His words were bold and domineering. Of course, if he became a member of Azure Province's 3 great academies, he would also have this right. Azure Province's 3 great academies were publicly recognized martial god holy lands of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, and the Azure Province's number 1. So, it is a camp of the Azure Province. Tai Tianyi nodded in understanding, but there was not much fear in his eyes. In the distance, Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He had obtained a piece of information. The martial god battalion's backer seemed to be the army of a certain dynasty. If an army was already so powerful, It was hard to imagine how terrifying the dynasty was. The Great Azure Divine Dynasty. Lin Ling remembered this name. I wasn't there at the time. Otherwise, how could that ant have the right to speak? Luo Yaoyao laughed in disdain. If he was in the ancient city of Everlast at that time, then Lin Ling would surely have to stay in the city and would never be able to come out alive, let alone destroy his marketplace. You think it's your turn? I can tell you that if we meet Lin Ling, he will definitely die by my hands first. Luo Yaoshi, you want to steal my prey? You are too inexperienced. Tai Tianyi was naturally very unhappy with Lin Ling, so he said lightly, that might not be the case. We'll see who's the real deal. Luo Yaoshi was non-committal. The two of them seemed to have taken Lin Ling as their prey to compare who was stronger between him and Tai Tianyi. These two fellows are really arrogant. In the crowd, Gong Yongjiang seemed to be somewhat dissatisfied. Tang Yue also narrowed her eyes because those two fellows actually took Lord Lin Ling as their prey. She couldn't help but look at Lin Ling. She originally thought that Lin Ling would definitely be angry, but she discovered that Lin Ling's expression didn't change at all. Even Commander Huang Qi and the others stared at Lin Ling and were secretly surprised. They didn't expect Lin Ling to be so calm. Sensing their gazes, Lin Ling smiled. Their mouths are on their bodies. Say whatever you like. Moreover, if a cultivator can defeat his opponent by relying on his mouth, then what's the point of learning martial arts? You're right. Commander Huang Qi nodded immediately. In fact, Lin Ling knew that the most important thing was the important matter. He naturally wouldn't pay attention to clowns. When will those lords arrive? On the hill, those people looked into the distance as if they were waiting for some news. Are these slaves going to become cannon fodder? Tai Tianyi was bored. He looked at the geniuses from various worlds around him. Suddenly, his expression changed and he revealed an interested look. Not a bad girl. Just nice to kill some boring time. He stared at the two women. Both of them were extremely beautiful. The one on the left was dressed in a green robe. She was slender and elegant, like a flower that was about to bloom. The one on the right was dressed in a black robe. She was petite, but her curves were exquisite. Coupled with her delicate little face, she gave off the feeling of a little witch. I want them. Luo Yazhuang followed Tai Tianyi's gaze and suddenly laughed. Those two women were indeed not bad. However, even if their looks were average, Tai Tianyi would definitely fight for what he wanted. Dream on. Tai Tianyi knew what Luo Yazhuang was thinking. He sneered and stretched out his hand to grab one of the women. Luo Yazhuang was not to be outdone. He also stretched out his hand and formed a sandstorm giant hand to grab the woman in the black robe. How dare you! Suddenly, there was an angry roar from the crowd. Because the two people who were caught were martial god Yun Gu and Shen Yuan Gu. The ones who roared were naturally the Dark Dragon Emperor and the Tsong Heaven Sword Immortal. They didn't expect this to happen. If their master knew that the most important woman in his life was caught here, they could only apologize with their lives. Get lost. Tai Tianyi didn't even look at the two of them. He spread out his 5 fingers and a powerful force struck out. The Dark Dragon Emperor and the others flew backward and spat out blood. Sigh. The crowd shook their heads. In fact, this kind of thing was not uncommon. Along the way, countless geniuses from various worlds had died. These martial god realm experts could catch whoever they wanted. There were even rumors that on the other side, there were people who directly swallowed geniuses from various worlds. You bastard! At this moment, the Dark Dragon Emperor and the others got up again. Ants! Unfortunately, Luo Yaoshi had also made his move. He pressed the void and dark clouds appeared above the Dark Dragon Emperor and the others. They fell like rain. It was countless grains of sand, mysterious sand from the myriad worlds. Bang! 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 The Dark Dragon Emperor and the others were drowned. They were no match for them. Shameless! At this moment, Shen Yuan Gu was caught. When she saw the Dark Dragon Emperor and the others injured, she immediately shouted, Yo, you're very feisty. Not bad, I like it. Luo Yaoshi smiled coldly and grabbed Shen Yuan Gu's cheeks. He wanted to take another step. The black-clothed woman next to him ignored him. However, at this moment, a furious roar that sounded like thunder from the 9 heavens was heard. You're courting death. As soon as this voice was heard, the surroundings became silent. This was because everyone noticed that the voice came from the geniuses from various worlds, which was the slaves. The slaves dared to rebel against their masters and even threaten them? At this moment, everyone stared at the person who spoke. Even Luo Yaoshe and the others on the hill narrowed their eyes and stopped moving. Chapter 23-21. Battle against Luo Dazzling. This kind of killing intent was so strong that it made many geniuses tremble. They were surprised. Who is this person? This person is Lin Ling. He didn't plan to pay attention to anything before, but he soon found out that Xian Yuangu and his disciple were here. Especially when he saw Xian Yuangu being held by the cheek, he felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. Xian Yuangu Li Xiaoyao's first love, Lin Ling's first love, the fate of thousands of lives. He didn't expect that Xian Yuangu had recovered and came to the martial god realm. Lin Ling. Commander Huang Qi and the others anxiously shouted. The current situation was very dangerous. Lin Ling shouldn't have appeared, but they could feel that Lin Ling's body was full of anger. That anger made them feel scared. Therefore, after shouting, they didn't dare to shout again. Master! It's you! At the same time, Xian Yuangu and the others saw Lin Ling and couldn't help but be surprised. Oh, so you know each other. Why? Do you have a problem? Luo Dazzling was very angry at first because someone said that he was courting death, but he quickly recovered. It turned out that the young man knew the woman in the black dress. No wonder he was angry. Master, don't mind us. His voice made the Dark Dragon Emperor and the others react, and they hurriedly shouted. These people's strength was very terrifying. Master was definitely not their match. However, their voices made Lin Ling shake his head. His eyes were still staring at Xian Yuangu as if the whole world had disappeared, and only the girl in the black dress existed. Xian Yuangu also looked at Lin Ling excitedly. Her eyesight, the world had also disappeared. Their gazes seemed to have passed through thousands of cycles of reincarnation and met once again. However, this encounter was quickly interrupted. It was Luo Dazzling. My woman, I don't like to fool around with other men. He grabbed Xian Yuangu and fiercely gripped Xian Yuangu's cheek. As for you, die for me. He pointed a finger and sand fell from the sky, falling down on Lin Ling like a torrential rain, instantly submerging Lin Ling. Your man is dead. Die. After doing this, Luo Dazzling looked at Xian Yuangu and smiled. Bang. But in the next moment, a rumble resounded. The black sand exploded, and a figure walked out slowly. He held a sword in his hand, and his face was icy cold. This was Lin. You should have never, ever, you should never. At this time, Lin Ling of all of these people's anger. Previously, when Luo Yaoyang and Tai Tian had said that they would kill him, he didn't care at all. Interesting. I didn't think that there would be a first-level World King realm martial artist hidden amongst these slaves. On the other side, Tai Tianyi narrowed his eyes as he spoke. His words caused Luo Dazzling to react. Luo Dazzling was surprised at first and then he sneered. In any case, I'm bored so I might as well play with him. Haha. Haha, I'm sorry, but this is prey that I've taken a fancy to. Haha. However, just as Luo Dazzling was about to attack, Tai Tianyi had already done so. This caused Luo Dazzling to be enraged. Tai Tianyi, you dare to steal from me? Haha. Haha, whoever kills him first gets it. Haha. Tai Tianyi's hand grasped out. Multicolored lights appeared and the cries of beasts filled the air, forming a giant claw that grabbed at Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling was a first-level World King realm powerhouse, there were still differences in strength in this realm. For instance, they had third-grade mystic bodies and could defeat 90% of first-level World Kings. Mine. Haha. Luo Dazzling didn't dare to show weakness. His hands moved and a giant sandstorm giant appeared behind him. A fork appeared in the giant's hand and it ruthlessly threw it at Lin Ling. The power of an entire world erupted from the trident. The two of them joined forces, forming a powerful attack. My lord! Lord! Gong Yangjiang and the others immediately panicked. Master! Master! The Dark Dragon Emperor and the others were also the same. At this time, Lin Ling's pupils shrank. He didn't think that these two would join forces. Bang! By the time he reacted, the powerful attack had already submerged him. With endless crackling sounds, Even a first-level World King Realm powerhouse would perish here. So strong. Master. Great Commander Xueqi and the others were all stunned. This was because they weren't able to block this joint attack. As for Xueqi, she stood there in a daze. She and Lin Ling had finally met again, but were they going to be separated again? She was unwilling. These two abominable people who took pleasure in killing others. She screamed out in her heart. Master! Master! Ancient profound martial god also cried out in pain. She didn't believe that Lin Ling could block the joint attack of two powerhouses. I killed him. Bullshit. Bullshit, it was me. Tai Tianyi, you are too abominable. Do you really want to steal my prey? Humph. What made people even angrier was that Luo Yaoshi and the others were actually fighting over him. And at this time, in the shockwaves of the world essence, Lin Ling spat out a mouthful of blood. His complexion was pale, but he was surprised. With two first-level World King powerhouses joining forces, he should have been severely wounded. But he discovered that he had only been lightly wounded. It's the divinity demon body. Humph. Soon, Lin Ling knew the reason. His divinity demon body had already transformed. He had swallowed a massive number of fish pearls and now had the monster energy of fish within him. In addition to the blood of the Silver Moon Supreme Beast, his body also had the aura of hell. It was because they suddenly joined forces that I was caught off guard. But now, it's my turn. Humph. Lin Ling's pupils turned red. Since coming to the martial god world, this was the first time he had been so angry. Bang! At the point where the power of sand and fire intersected, a figure shot out like a meteor. A fist, carrying with it the aura of a fish monster king and the aura of hell, came smashing down. At this time, Luo Yaoshi and Tai Tianyi were still fighting. But in the distance, the black-clothed woman immediately reacted. Be careful. Be careful. Her voice was filled with shock. That youth hadn't died? She was well aware of the strength of Luo Yaoshi and Tai Tianyi. Just one of them was enough to sweep away many first-level world kings, much less two of them. Luo Yaoshi immediately reacted. He discovered that the fist was aimed at him. How dare you? He was enraged. This was because he and Tai Tianyi had both attacked. But why would that ant attack him? Was it because he was weaker than Tai Tianyi? To him, this was a great disgrace. Cripple his arm. Roar. Luo Yaoshi angrily shouted. A spinning sandstorm appeared around his body, as if it was sharp blades of sand. His talent was of the sand attribute. He drew upon the strength of the sand world. As for Lin Ling's fist, he simply didn't care. He thought that Lin Ling was simply seeking death. Of course, even Tai Tianyi thought the same. He was even annoyed that Lin Ling hadn't attacked him, causing him to miss out on a prey like Lin Ling. Bang! However, as Lin Ling's fist collided with the sharp blades of sand, the power of 3,000 universes immediately erupted, as if it were a heavy world. The sand couldn't be cut, couldn't be blown away. Luo Yaoshi sneered. Once Lin Ling died, he would show off in front of Tai Tianyi. But at this time, he felt something strange, as if the aura of hell was spreading outwards. As he turned his head, he saw a black shadow shooting towards him. It was a fist. Chapter 23-22. The two of them came together. How is this possible? Luo Dazhuang roared in his heart. Before this, he had seen Lin Ling suffer 2 attacks and nearly die. Thus, he didn't place Lin Ling in his eyes. But now, he felt threatened. Most importantly, he had seen that although Lin Ling was at the first stage of the World King realm, his talent was ordinary and he didn't even have a Shen body. And he had the 3rd grade 9 Heaven Sand King body. Bang! As he was thinking, a fist landed on his cheek. Like a battering ram, he was sent flying off the hill. Bang bang bang! Almost at the same time, a sandstorm erupted above the hill, causing countless people to be stunned. No way! Young Master Luo Dazhuang was sent flying. He is the 12th young master of my commandery. Who is this guy? The crowd cried out in alarm. To the geniuses of various worlds, the local geniuses of the martial god world were invincible. But now, this legend had been broken. As for Tai Tianyi, he was also stunned. He couldn't believe it. Lin Ling appeared above the hill. He slowly walked towards Xueqi, a smile finally appearing on his cold face. Why are you here? He finally asked the question. Xian Yuange was still surprised by Lin Ling's strength. She never thought that Lin Ling would become so strong not long after coming to the martial god world. I came to find you. But, you are really hard to find. Then, Shen Yuange smiled. No matter what, she was satisfied to be able to see her man again. Silly girl, didn't I tell you that I was in the martial god camp? Are you in the martial god camp now? Do you have no sense of direction? Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. You're the one with no sense of direction. I was kidnapped. Shen Yuange sniffed in dissatisfaction. The conversation between the two could be said to be ignored. In the distance, Tai Tianyi was still hoping that Lin Ling would treat him seriously. But he was disappointed. All of you, enough! Tai Tianyi shouted angrily, interrupting the conversation between Lin Ling's fish Shen Yuange. Lin Ling's gaze turned cold once again. I don't know which corner you came from, but I know that you're courting death. Lin Ling said coldly as he slowly pulled out the sword in his hand. In the distance, Luo Yazhuang also stood up and spat out a mouthful of broken teeth. His eyes stared at Lin Ling as if he wanted to swallow him whole. You must die today. He was thoroughly enraged. Previously, he had only underestimated Lin Ling. This time, he would definitely make Lin Ling regret it. Loser. Just watch from the side. I'll take care of him. However, Tai Tianyi sneered. This time, it was his turn to take action. He wanted to obliterate Lin Ling. First level World King Realm. Not bad at all. To be able to give Luo Yazhuang a punch, that means you are extremely formidable in some domain. Tai Tianyi stared at Lin Ling, praising him. It was as if he was very satisfied that Lin Ling had given Luo Yazhuang a punch. But in the next moment, a mysterious flame floated out from his body, covering the hill and pouring down in torrents. Beast fire. It could leave a slave seal on the soul. He clearly wanted Lin Ling to be his slave so that he could show off in front of Luo Yazhuang. I am the master. Tai Tianyi's voice was divine. A beast fire was born in Lin Ling's body and began to burn. His talent was also a third-grade mystic body. He believed that he could easily control Lin Ling. Unfortunately, he was overthinking things. On the surface, Lin Ling's talent wasn't strong. But in truth, his hidden talent was terrifying. The left eye was an existence that surpassed the mystic body. The divinity and demon body was condensed, suppressing the aura of divinity and demons. The fish monster king had the aura of hell. From a certain perspective, just by relying on his mortal body, Lin Ling's talent was in no way inferior to an ordinary mystic body. Get over here! Tai Tianyi angrily shouted. And beneath his voice, Lin Ling walked over. This caused Tai Tianyi's lips to curve in a proud smile as he taunted Luo Yazhuang. Luo Yazhuang's complexion was ugly. He had actually lost to Tai Tianyi. The crowd also shook their heads. They had all seen Tai Tianyi's methods before. There was simply no way to defend against him. Once the beast fire appeared, the world would become his slave. That youth had likely become a slave. At this time, Lin Ling coldly walked in front of Tai Tianyi. Tai Tianyi faintly smiled at him. Not bad, I've finally received a slave with strength that can be seen in public. Now, kneel down before me. His voice carried with it a thick majesty. A beast king appeared behind him, as if he were summoning all beasts. However, Lin Ling remained indifferent. What? Even now, you still want to resist my beast fire? Seeing this, Tai Tianyi suddenly frowned, thinking that Lin Ling was still resisting. However, he disdainfully shook his head. You can't resist my beast fire of Kuan. Your body and soul have already been implanted with a slave seal. However, just as he finished speaking, Lin Ling finally spoke. What are you playing at? As soon as he finished speaking, he viciously threw a punch with the aura of hell erupting. Boom! That punch directly hit Tai Tianyi's cheek, causing him to fly backward like Luo Yazhuang. He flew along the swamp, creating a deep ditch in the swamp. After he crashed into the ground some distance away, the crowd's expressions became completely interesting. Previously, Luo Yazhuang and Tai Tianyi had both treated Lin Ling as prey. They took turns to attack him, but in the end, they were both sent flying by Lin Ling's punch. Playing? The surrounding geniuses from various worlds all opened their mouths wide. Who is this young man? Why is he so fierce? On the hill, The black-clothed lady stared at Lin Ling, as if she was even more confused by what was happening in front of her. In terms of talent, the young man was not strong at all. How could he break Luo Yazhuang's attacks time and time again? She could not see through all of this. After all, not long ago, Lin Ling was suppressed twice in a row and almost died. How could he be suppressed so easily after a breath's time? Amazing, amazing, amazing. Defeat them. Cheers. After the surrounding geniuses recovered from their shock, they immediately cheered. They had long disliked Luo Yazhuang and the others. Now, they finally saw someone who could defeat them. Bastard, where did this guy come from? Why is he not afraid of Tai Tianyi's beast fire and my sandstorm? Cheers. Luo Yazhuang originally wanted to attack, but at this moment, he did not dare to do so because he could not see through Lin Ling anymore. As soon as this thought appeared, he felt humiliated. After all, not long ago, he did not take Lin Ling seriously at all. Now, however, they were the ones who lost face. Bang! At almost the same time, flames erupted from the swamp and the cry of a beast echoed out. Tai Tianyi stroked his cheek and walked over. Very good, very good. You actually punched me. Anger. His voice was thick with anger. This fellow's bodily strength is not bad. However, a World King powerhouse does not rely on their physical strength. Warning. Tai Tianyi's pupils shrank. It looks like I'll have to borrow some martial arts. Warning. Weren't you too bored before? Weren't you looking for some people to pass the time? Now, is that enough? Warning. Lin Ling stared at the two, the anger in his eyes still not disappearing. If you want to play, I'll play with you. Both of you come at me together. Attack. As his voice fell, he grasped the Tyrant Song sword in his hand. He stepped off the hill and shot towards the two. This sudden turn of events caused everyone on the hill to be stunned. They thought that Luo Yazhuang and Tai Tianyi would be enraged and attack first. Who knew that the one to attack would be Lin Ling? Chapter 23-23. I'm the Lin Ling you've been looking for. Who is this fellow? The black-clothed woman on the hill also felt that Lin Ling was far too arrogant. She didn't dare to underestimate him. In the distance, Luo Yaoshe and the others were stunned. The blue veins on their foreheads became increasingly prominent. Beast King's entrustment. Tai Tianyi was the first to unleash his ultimate technique. Multicolored flames soared into the sky. His hair grew crazily, and his physique became even more burly. His clothes were torn apart, allowing him to transform into a huge five-colored ancient ape. This ancient ape seemed to be the lord of a world. Every movement of his was accompanied by terrifying beast flames. Divine Sand Strike. Luo Yazhuang also unleashed his strongest attack. A giant brown scorpion appeared behind him. The scorpion's tail was raised high, and it shot towards Lin Ling from a distance, bringing with it a rain of sand. The two of them attacked. They wished they could kill Lin Ling. This was because they had lost all face today. And this was also because countless geniuses from various worlds were looking at them. However, the sword in the sky was fearless. It slashed down like a meteor. What was surprising was that this sword was extremely slow. What is this move? Does he also know primal world martial arts? Why does it give me a strange feeling? The black-clothed woman frowned. She felt that Lin Ling was far too mysterious. Insignificant tricks. Looking at the skies, Luo Yaoshe and the others disdainfully shouted out. Their powerful attacks were also launched. Bang! The great sword came slashing down. What was terrifying was that this sword was simultaneously resisting two first-stage World King powerhouses. Although no one knew whether or not Lin Ling could win, no one would laugh at him even if he lost. This was because these two were extremely famous juniors of the four great commanderies, and were destined to enter the three great academies of Azure Province. It could also be said that amongst the elites of Azure Province, they were also illustrious. Much less in front of the geniuses of various worlds. Impossible, he absolutely cannot win. The black-clothed woman shouted out once more. Shen Yuan-Ge clenched his fists, his eyes glued to the youth in the skies. At this moment, this youth was extremely handsome, as if he could cut apart the earth with his sword. Master's strength has become so powerful. He will definitely win. The Dark Dragon Emperor and the others were also very nervous, but they also had a strong sense of pride, because their master had only been in the martial god realm for a short period of time, but now he was able to fight with the geniuses of the martial god realm. Ka. The giant sword was still colliding with the two major moves, but something shocking happened. Although the sword was slow, it was like a foolish old man moving a mountain, like dripping water penetrating a stone. It was actually slowly suppressing the opponent. Cut. This was the power of slicing. Vibration. He's using the power of vibration to cut our moves. Tai Tianyi let out a terrified cry. Beside him, Luo Yazhuang's face was also pale. He never thought that this sword would be so miraculous. Didn't you say that I can only rely on the strength of my physical body? As for Lin Ling, he was still holding his sword and slashing down. His eyes were cold as the world essence in his body continuously poured into the tyrant Song's sword. Black sword record. Heart of the flute sword. However, as his sword grew sharper and sharper, his ultimate sword Dao was also activated. A wisp of chaotic energy, invisible to the naked eye, smashed through everything in its path. We can't block it, retreat. What a terrifying sword. Who is he? As soon as the chaotic energy appeared, Luo Yazhuang and the others' faces changed drastically. They wanted to block it, but they couldn't. Luo Yazhuang's arm was directly cut off, while Tai Tianyi's chest was cut by the chaotic energy. However, at the critical moment, the two of them frantically retreated to avoid the terrifying sword. Boom! The sword slashed down on the ground, causing a loud boom that could topple mountains and overturn seas. This sword was so terrifying. The entire swamp seemed to have quieted down. Only the sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. What kind of power is that? Why is it like this? This person's talent isn't strong at all. At the beginning, his martial arts couldn't suppress Luo Yazhuang and the others. Why did he suddenly erupt with a mysterious power at the critical moment? The woman in black said word by word. At this moment, she was even more curious about the young man. Who are you? In the distance, Luo Yazhuang and the others' faces were red as they roared angrily. They had lost all face in this battle. The two of them together couldn't suppress the young man. This was like a dream. The most ironic part was that they'd actually felt disdain towards the young man and wanted to tease him. However, they'd almost been the ones to be killed. I'm the Lin Ling you're looking for. Lin Ling held his sword with an icy cold expression. Actually, he wanted to kill them as well. However, it was slightly difficult for him to accomplish that with his current strength. Even if he could accomplish it, it would take a long time. Instantly killing them was very difficult. Lin Ling. You're Lin Ling from the Martial Gods Battalion. The pupils of Luo Yazhuang and the others instantly shook violently. That's right. I'm the Lin Ling that all of you have taken to be prey. Lin Ling spoke once more. The crowd instantly exploded. Earlier, they'd heard Luo Yazhuang and the others talking about who would kill Lin Ling first. If they encountered Lin Ling, then Lin Ling would definitely be annihilated like an ant. But now, it seemed like they were the ones to be annihilated. They were absolutely no match for Lin Ling in a one-on-one battle. What are all of you doing? At this moment, a low voice suddenly resounded. An old man in green clothes walked over from afar. His footsteps weren't quick, but they carried a mysterious rhythm. He appeared on the hill in just 3 steps. Everyone's expressions changed violently when they saw this person. Obviously, the old man's strength was extremely terrifying, and he'd left a heavy shadow in their hearts. Shit! An expert has arrived. His strength is probably comparable to a deputy general. Commander Huang Qi and the others laughed bitterly. They knew that Lin Ling was in trouble. However, if they encountered such a situation, they would definitely come out as well. Because they'd seen that those who'd been captured earlier were Lin Ling's friends and family. My lord, kill him. He's from the Martial Gods Battalion. Luo Yazhuang immediately roared furiously, causing the old man to frown as he stared at Lin Ling. Many people from the Martial Gods Battalion died just now. Could it be that you're not smart enough and want even more to die? The old man emanated terrifying killing intent. Kill him. He's here to disrupt our plans. Tai Tianyi shouted gloomily. Hee, 2 pieces of trash. Seeing this, Lin Ling wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he smiled faintly. Previously, he didn't want to act rashly and alert the enemy. However, now that Shen Yuan Gu and the others were in trouble, he naturally had to step forward. He'd already predicted the situation in front of him. You called us trash? Luo Yazhuang was so angry that his body trembled. Lin Ling actually called him trash in front of everyone. Damn it! Can a loser only show off his strength with words? Can you only rely on others? If you're a man, why don't you fight me one-on-one? Lin Ling smiled disdainfully as he stared at Luo Yazhuang. However, his words made Luo Yazhuang grit his teeth. He couldn't refute. If you don't dare, then admit that you're trash. The smile on Lin Ling's face grew wider. Kill him, we can't leave him alive. Luo Yazhuang knew that he wasn't Lin Ling's opponent, so he begged the old man to kill him. After he finished speaking, he glared at Lin Ling with resentment and snorted coldly as if saying, "You're strong, but you're going to die." Tai Tianyi also pointed at Lin Ling, wishing he could cut Lin Ling into pieces. What else do you have to say? Chapter 23-24. Reaching an agreement to the old man in green, as long as it affected the 8 gods' heavenly palace, he could kill anyone. Uncle Fu, it's me. However, at this moment, an anxious voice came from the crowd. Then a young man walked out in large strides. Uncle Fu, he is my friend. Can you let him go for my father's sake? Just tell me how much money you want. As long as it can be solved with money, it's not a problem. Aya, look at my mouth. How dare I talk about money in front of Uncle Fu? Slap. As he spoke, he slapped himself a few times. The crowd was stunned. What was this guy's background? Gong Yangjiang? Lin Ling's eyes lit up. Gong Yangjiang knew the old man in green? Little Jiang, why are you here? Yes. However, the truth was that the green-robed old man indeed recognized Gong Yangjiang, but his expression remained unchanged. Don't get involved in the matters here. After all, today's matters aren't decided by me alone. That lord is also here, and even if it's that lord, the matters of the 8 gods' heavenly palace aren't decided by him. Yes. His words made it clear that it was useless for anyone to plead for mercy. Gong Yangjiang's expression changed. Grandpa Sunset is also here? How about I talk to him? Yes. The green-robed old man didn't expect Lin Ling to know the son of Qing Province's Fu Hang Manor. Moreover, from the looks of it, Xiao Jiang's attitude towards that young man was like a servant. This made him unable to understand. What did that young man do to make the son of Fu Hang Manor follow him? After all, Fu Xing Manor was a bank that could be found all over the 9 prefectures. It controlled a large amount of divine crystals. Its power was beyond imagination. Sai, go back. Even if your father is here, it's useless. However, the old man in green still shook his head. This made Gong Yangjiang anxious, but there was nothing he could do. Looking at the two talking, Lin Ling guessed that Gong Yangjiang was the son of Fu Xing Manor. His background was not small, and the old man in green knew him. Obviously, this senior was also from Fu Xing Manor. As for Fu Xing Manor, he had been there before and had saved a lot of money there. Even he did not dare to underestimate this huge organization. Uncle Fu, can you spare his life? I beg you. Shen Yuangu called out when she saw the old man continue to move forward. She was the one who was kidnapped by the old man. Martial God Yungu, Dark Dragon Emperor, and the others also knelt down. Alas! When he saw this, the old man sighed again. I was the one who robbed you. I already owe you a little. However, that was the will of the higher-ups. I had no other choice. I'm sorry. Hearing this, Shen Yuangu and the others turned pale. Haha, you're Lin Ling, right? Now you're regretting it. Seeing so many people pleading for leniency in vain, Luo Yazhuang gloated. No matter how tragic it is, it can't be compared to you. Lin Ling replied indifferently. His words made Luo Yaoshe and Luo Yaoshe furious. Their current appearances were indeed more miserable than Lin Ling's. Young friend, I'm sorry to offend you. At first, the green-robed old man did not think much of Lin Ling. But now, he began to pay more attention to him. After all, for so many people to plead on his behalf, this young man must be extraordinary. Unfortunately, he still couldn't escape death. However, would Lin Ling really die? Lin Ling was neither fast nor slow throughout the entire process. At this moment, he finally opened his mouth. Senior, you want to enter the 8 gods' heavenly palace, but you're not familiar with it. If you kill me, you'll lose a guide. As soon as he said this, the green-robed old man stopped in his tracks. You know the way to the 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace? Yes. The 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace has 9 levels. The first level is the meteor spacetime. I can only say this for now. If you don't believe me, then just kill me. Yes. Lin Ling smiled calmly. This was the reason why he was still fearless. Meteor spacetime? The green-robed old man's gaze trembled. Killing Lin Ling was a small matter. But what if Lin Ling really knew the way? However, he still asked, "You're not lying to me, right?" "Yes." "You think I'm free?" "Yes." Lin Ling retorted. Such words finally moved the green-robed old man. This young man was too confident. Could it be that he really had the confidence? Lin Ling also knew that the green-robed old man was moved. He smiled and said, "Of course I can lead the way, but you have to let these people go. In addition to those 2 dogs, give them 10 slaps." Slap. As soon as he finished speaking, he pointed at Luo Yaoshe and the others, causing them to be tongue-tied. They wanted to see Lin Ling get obliterated, but Lin Ling had bewitched the green-robed old man and even slapped them in the face. Too hateful. "Sir, don't believe him. He's lying to you." Slap. "Lin Ling, you're so bold. You even dare to lie to Sir. Even if you die 100 times, it won't be enough." Slap. Soon after, Luo Yaoshe and the others became furious. At the same time, they looked at the green-robed old man with anticipation. "If you can't do it, then just kill me." Slap. Lin Ling also stared at the old man. He spread out his hands as if he had nothing to lose. "If you believe me, then do as I say. If you don't, then kill me. Anyway, my life is cheap." It doesn't matter. How could the green-robed old man not understand this? He secretly admired Lin Ling's calmness. After all, not many people could remain calm in the face of death. Therefore, he looked at Luo Yaoshe and the others. "Bring your face closer." "Sir." The green-robed old man said calmly. "Sir, you believe him?" "Sir." Luo Yaoshe and the others looked as if they had seen a ghost. Because the green-robed old man was one of them. But now, Lin Ling seemed to have become one of them. Lin Ling's mouth was really too powerful. More powerful than his strength. It doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. As long as there's a glimmer of hope, I won't miss it. Otherwise, why do you think we captured these people and brought them here?" The green-robed old man said calmly. After he finished speaking, he slapped out. Crack, crack, crack. Luo Yaoshe's cheeks were fractured. At this moment, he was indeed very dazzling. Seeing this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He asked for 10 slaps, but he didn't ask for it to be so ruthless. From this point, he could see that there were many forces involved in this plan, and they were not in the same camp. "Senior, you can hit them, but don't kill them. Leave them for me to kill." "All right." Lin Ling left these words, then walked toward Shen Yuanguo and the others to give them some instructions. The green-robed old man looked at Lin Ling in astonishment. He found that Lin Ling was a little too familiar. It felt as if Lin Ling also wanted to enter the 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace. What an interesting kid. The green-robed old man thought. He looked at Tai Tianyi and then shook his head. These 2 claimed to be the geniuses of the martial god realm, but compared to that mysterious kid, they were still too far away. Slap. Another slap sounded. The power was earth-shattering. What a ruthless old man. But at least you helped me vent my anger. Sigh. Lin Ling took a look and couldn't help but shake his head. Then he looked at Shen Yuanguo and said, "Go back with Commander Huang Qi and the others. Wait for me in the martial god barracks. I'll be back soon." "Lin Ling, I'll go with you." Shen Yuanguo sniffled and her eyes were moist. Chapter 23-25. Lu Yin, have you forgotten who I used to be? Lin Ling's heart warmed as he kissed Shen Yuanguo's smooth forehead, causing Shen Yuanguo to finally feel better. Yes, her man was Li Xiaoyao. You guys should go too. Lin Ling looked at his disciples and said, "Master, we'll wait for you at the martial god camp." Dark Dragon Emperor, Ancient Martial God Yun, and the others nodded. They weren't worried about Lin Ling because in their hearts, their master was omnipotent. "Little friend, can we go now?" At this moment, the old man in green looked at Lin Ling and said after completing the task given to him by Lin Ling, "Let's go. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can go home." Lin Ling nodded, put away the tyrannical song sword, and strode after the old man. Lin Ling, I'll give you a song. When my hair reaches my waist, the peach blossoms are still enchanting. Last year, the swallows returned to their nests early. How are you, young man from afar? Watching Lin Ling leave, Xian Yuangu softly sang as if she was watching a general going to war. And she was quietly waiting at home, waiting for her daughter's triumphant return. In the distance, Lin Ling's footsteps trembled. This scene was familiar. In the past, in the ghost realm, in the demon realm, whenever Lin Ling went out to fight, Xian Yuangu would give him a song. I'll be back. With Xian Yuangu on his back, Lin Ling waved his hand. He didn't want to look back because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to let go. Even after Lin Ling's group disappeared, the sweet song was still floating in the swamp. The geniuses from all over the world stood there in a daze. Today they were saved, and the person who saved them was named Lin Ling. Who was that lord from before? Finally someone asked. Martial God Camp's Grand Commander Lin Ling. Grand Commander Xueqi and the others stared into the distance. Although they were shocked, they still replied boldly. They didn't expect things to turn out like this. Now that they had returned to the army, they didn't know how to report back. However, they were certain that the matter of the 8 gods' heavenly palace was related to too many experts and forces. The martial god camp couldn't control it. We want to follow him. Yes, that's right. We're willing to be his subordinates. At this moment, the crowd roared. The geniuses from all over the world spoke with passion. After all, their lives were saved by Lin Ling. I can't make the decision on this matter, but if Lin Ling is here, I believe he will recruit you. Therefore, you have a high chance of becoming scouts of the Martial God Battalion. Now, come back with me. Go. Grand Commander and Xian to follow. At this moment, Lin Ling followed the green-robed elder forward. Luo Yaoshe and the rest followed behind with bruises all over their faces. At this moment, their eyes were like flames. If looks could kill, Lin Ling would have been burned to ashes. Unfortunately, their gazes were powerless. Lin Ling naturally guessed what the two of them were thinking. He said calmly, I know you two want to kill me very much, but when have I not been like this? What happened before was only interest. If there's a chance, you'll definitely die. All right. Let's see who will die when the time comes. Yes. Luo Yaoshe and the others coldly replied. As they walked forward, more and more people appeared in front of them. They covered more than half of the swamp. Upon closer inspection, many of them were captured slaves. Blood flowed like a river on the ground. It was obvious that many lives had been sacrificed to develop this area. Those who were still alive were at a loss. They were terrified of the unknown. Lin Ling sighed inwardly as he looked at the miserable scene. The world was heartless and treated all living things like dogs. No matter where one was, strength was everything. Without strength, one would be treated as cannon fodder. Their life and death were beyond one's control. Then they landed. The old man in green warned them and left. Luo Yaoshe and the others also separated. However, before they left, they glared at Lin Ling with hatred. You're on your own. If the old man in green can't protect you, Luo Yaoshe and the others will definitely kill you. After all, Tating Commandery and Weiwa Commandery have sent out one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. The woman in black who had been following them reminded Lin Ling, thank you. Lin Ling replied with a smile. The woman in black took a deep look at Lin Ling and left. Lin Ling could be said to have entered the tiger's den. If he was useless, he would die. Lin Ling was well aware of this. Were you also captured? He asked. Sigh, these people are too cruel. Soon, people gathered around. There were not many, only a dozen of them. They were all martial emperors. These people were obviously captured and were in the same situation as Lin Ling. Since you're here, you must know something about the 8 gods' heavenly palace. How familiar are you with the 8 gods' heavenly palace? A burly young man looked at Lin Ling and asked. Lu Yi, don't go too far. We're all captured. Why do you harm your own people? However, very quickly, an angry voice rang out and interrupted the young man, causing him to become furious. Soon after, a thin and weak man walked over. This person looked very handsome with a pale complexion and extremely pure eyes. He smiled at Lin Ling and said, We are all familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace, so we don't need to be cannon fodder to scout the way. We are called guides, and in the end, we are brought here. Those experts said that as long as we're useful, they'll let us go and even give us rewards. Lu-yi asked you if you were familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace because he wanted to know your information. If you tell him, you'll be useless and will be treated as cannon fodder. As Lu-yi spoke, he angrily glared at the young man. The others were the same. Shi Wenba, you've got guts. The fellow called Lu-yi coldly snorted and led the others away. My name is Shi Wenba and I come from the mystic world. I just arrived at the martial god world, but who knew that I would be captured by these powerhouses? The thin man ignored the threat and looked at Lin Ling with a smile. My name is Lin Ling and I'm also one of the guides. Lin Ling also replied. In truth, how could he not know what Lu-yi meant? Unfortunately, he was too familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. If he really wanted to speak, 3 days and 3 nights wouldn't be enough. We're all in the same boat. So you can rest assured that with me here, that Lu-yi won't dare to threaten you. Shi Wenba said again, causing Lin Ling to smile and nod. Thank you. These people had just arrived at the martial god world and had only given birth to a world essence seed, so they subconsciously thought that Lin Ling had also just arrived. What they didn't know was that Lin Ling was already at the first level of the World King realm. At home, rely on your parents. When you go out, rely on your friends. I hope that everyone can work together to pass through this difficult time. Shi Wenba said to the others, causing them to nod. It was clear that he had a very high prestige in this group of people. It was clear that he was very kind and was willing to help everyone. The 8 gods' heavenly palace is recorded in some ancient world. We've seen ancient texts before, so we have some understanding of that place. I hope that this understanding can help those powerhouses. Shi Wenba said again. If we can provide the correct information, then we won't have to die and will even be rewarded. These powerhouses are the titans of the martial god world. The rewards they give us will not be small. Crisis is accompanied by opportunity. This saying is true. Chapter 23-26. The 3 religions and 9 schools, dragons and snakes dancing together. Lin Ling could sense that although these people seemed to be united on the surface, they all had their own thoughts. In a critical moment, they would still look out for themselves. Only Shi Wenba was an exception. Lin Ling, right? The Lord orders you to move forward. As everyone was talking, a black-robed man suddenly appeared in the skies. He looked down at the crowd below and indifferently said. Seeing this, many people's complexions changed, envy in the depths of their eyes. They had been here for a long time already, but none of them had the chance to see these powerhouses. To be able to see these powerhouses was undoubtedly a great blessing. After all, if they couldn't see them, that meant they were useless and could only be cannon fodder at any time. Lin Ling, go. You will cross this crisis. Only Shi Wenba was happy for Lin Ling, thank you. Lin Ling politely smiled. In truth, he was different from these people. He didn't worry about his own safety at all. In fact, he wanted to borrow these powerhouses to enter the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Then, Lin Ling followed that person and soon arrived at a ruin. There were dilapidated city walls here and powerhouses were all around, each one of them at the World King realm. Moreover, there were several terrifying auras floating all around. Those sitting in these ruins are at least at the late World King realm. Moreover, there are several true divinity realm powerhouses hiding here. Lin Ling was startled. His soul force was powerful, thus he was able to sense the strength of the powerhouses around him. This meant that the number of powerhouses gathered for this plan had surpassed his imagination. Brother Sandthorn, that is Lin Ling. My commandery city square was destroyed by him. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded out. Beneath a ruin, Luo Yingyang pointed at Lin Ling. Beside him was a youth sitting cross-legged. Blood sand floated around this youth, occasionally forming ghost heads and demon fangs. This appearance was enough to make one's heart tremble. Although this youth wasn't too old, his aura was terrifying. He had likely reached the late World King realm. At the same time, gazes were also focused on them from several other directions. The strength of these people who were seated in various places was also unfathomable. As for the young man named Xueqi, he finally opened his eyes. His eyes were blood red, and mysterious runes floated out from them. he said indifferently. Get over here. The hidden expert's eyes flashed. Luo Xueqi from the only commandery, one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, actually attacked a weak junior? At the same time, the sand formed a blood-colored rune that floated out majestically and enveloped Lin Ling. Seeing this, Lin Ling sneered inwardly. He knew that Lin Ling was suppressing him with his innate talent. On the surface, Lin Ling's talent wasn't strong, but his 10,000 mammoths' magic eyes wasn't weak at all. Who do you think you are? Lin Ling replied indifferently, unmoving like a mountain. Sandthorn's pupils flashed with surprise. For the first time, he frowned and looked at Lin Ling as if he wanted to see through Lin Ling. How bold of you! Brother Sandthorn told you to get over here, so you should get over here. From the side, Luo Yaosher angrily shouted. Then, he looked at Sandthorn with flattery. Brother Sandthorn, this boy comes from the martial god camp. He doesn't know how strong you are or that you are one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. He is simply courting death. Before, when the blue-clothed old man was here, he couldn't do anything to Lin Ling. But now with Luo Xueqi here, what did he have to fear? Pang! And as soon as his voice fell, Lin Ling also moved. He stepped on the ground and shot towards Luo Yaosher. In midair, the sword on his back was drawn. Combined with his godly demon body, he ruthlessly slashed down. You're courting death. Although Lin Ling's attack was fast, there were countless powerhouses in the ancient ruins. Naturally, they were able to sense Lin Ling's movements. They didn't think that Lin Ling would be so bold. In fact, even Luo Xueqi was surprised. But he didn't attack. First, Lin Ling was only at the first level of the World King realm. He might not be able to kill Luo Yaosher. Second, he didn't believe that Lin Ling would dare to kill him. In his heart, Lin Ling was nothing more than a slave that had been captured, nothing more than cannon fodder. Who gave him the courage to be so arrogant? And at this time, Luo Yaosher also reacted. His pupils fiercely shook. He didn't think that Lin Ling would attack. Because of this, he had been too careless. As for Lin Ling's strength, he was sure that in a one-on-one battle, he absolutely couldn't stop Lin Ling. You dare! Luo Yaosher roared. The sword in the sky simply and crudely answered his question. Dare or not? Heart flute sword form. The power of vibration appeared. Shwa! In a moment of desperation, Luo Yaosher erupted with a terrifying sandstorm. But it was cut apart by the sword. Moreover, a massive strength surged from the sword. Bang! Luo Yaosher's body shook. From above his head, he was cut in half by a sword. In truth, if he had been careful in dealing with Lin Ling, then Lin Ling might not have been able to kill him so easily. But he had clearly underestimated Lin Ling's courage. You! He pointed at Lin Ling. With so many powerhouses here, Lin Ling still dared to attack. I already said that you will die. Lin Ling slowly put away his sword and calmly stood there. He knew that Luo Yaosher wouldn't let him go, so he had to strike first. Put on. As Luo Yaosher heard the final words of his life, he finally fell to the ground. Even in death, he never imagined that with the blue-clothed old man here, he wouldn't die. But with Luo Xueqi here, he would die even faster. Lin Ling didn't place Luo Xueqi in his eyes at all. Dead, Luo Yaosher is dead. In the distance, Tai Tianyi's eyes narrowed. With Luo Yaosher dead, he would be next. He couldn't help but feel terrified. At that moment, 2 meters away from Lin Ling, Luo Xueqi was still sitting cross-legged. However, a terrifying murderous aura emanated from his body. That was because Luo Yaosher had died right next to him. It was a great humiliation to him. Could it be that his reputation as one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou couldn't intimidate a piece of trash? Rumble. Sand drifted out. It was extremely beautiful, as if it was a dance of sand. However, there was a murderous aura in the sand. Luo Xueqi attacked. He was going to kill Lin Ling. In fact, he didn't even bother to say another word. He only wanted to kill this ant who overestimated himself. That's enough. However, at that moment, a calm voice suddenly sounded. It was like a spring breeze that blew away all the sand. An old man appeared beside Lin Ling. It was the blue-clothed old man. He said calmly, I brought this person back, so you can't kill him yet. He killed my men. I won't show you any respect. However, Luo Xueqi still sat on the ground and muttered to himself. There was a huge age gap between him and the blue-clothed old man. Moreover, the blue-clothed old man had a high status in this plan. However, he still dared to not show him any respect. This showed how powerful he was. Indeed, you don't have to show me any respect. However, don't forget that this plan wasn't decided by the two of us. The blue-clothed old man's eyes flickered, but he still said calmly. His words made Luo Xueqi's eyes turn cold, but he also fell silent. This guy is crazy. He killed our men before the heavenly palace even opened. In my opinion, we should kill him. At this moment, a young man in a golden robe in the distance said indifferently. He had a pair of golden sword wings behind his back. These wings were formed from numerous swords, making him seem like the chosen one of the heavens. This was another extremely extraordinary existence. Chapter 23-27. The three great leaders. He wasn't too old, but his authority wasn't small at all. This proved that his strength was terrifying. Of course, to be able to become one of the 9 heavens of Blue Province, his reputation wasn't undeserved. Let's see what Senior Fu has to say. But at this time, a person wearing a blue cloak slowly walked over. The cloak completely covered him, making it impossible for others to see his appearance. His hands were placed on the pockets of the cloak, and he walked over while holding the pockets. His style was extremely unique. This person was strong, unfathomably deep. The eyes of the powerhouses in the ruins flashed. This was Void. No one knew where he came from, they only knew that he was involved in this plan. But he was actually speaking up for that youth? This was strange. After all, the Void they knew was cold and emotionless, someone who didn't care about anything. This is because his familiarity with the 8 Divinity Heavenly Palace surpasses that of the other guides. The blue-clothed old man slowly said. He knew that if he didn't speak of Lin Ling's use, he feared that Lin Ling would be killed by everyone. Are you sure? Yes. A voice suddenly floated up. Of course, yes. The blue-clothed old man nodded. In truth, he wasn't too sure. As for Lin Ling, he stood beside him, his expression calm from beginning to end. It was like the one he had killed wasn't Luo Yazhuang, but a dog. In truth, he already knew that the blue-clothed old man would help him. And now, he was sure that he had finally arrived at the core of this plan. There were indeed many powerhouses here. However, this was even better. It would be beneficial for him to enter the 8 Divinity Heavenly Palace. I think that this junior is quite arrogant. When others see us, which one of them isn't respectful and fearful? But he looks at us as if we are peers. Haha, a first-level World King Realm brat is actually so confident. Yes. Another voice sounded out. It was an old man with a face full of wrinkles. His back was hunched and a massive number of needles were inserted into it. He was like a hedgehog, giving off a frightening feeling. Then the old man stared at Lin Ling and said, I don't like juniors who don't know the rules. Here only those like us can speak. As a guide, you don't have the right to speak. I hope you don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. He had no enmity with Lin Ling, but he just didn't like Lin Ling because Lin Ling dared to kill in front of them. He was too arrogant. That's Old Monster Lone Mountain from the Green Toad Realm. He has been cultivating in the Martial God Realm for many years. Once, in a fit of anger, he turned an entire realm into a poison realm. At that moment, the green-robed old man secretly reminded Lin Ling. The people here were from all walks of life, dragons and snakes dancing together. Lin Ling smiled. He thought it was some kind of amazing existence, but it turned out that it was just a loose cultivator. When he, Li Xiaoyao, rose like a comet, any loose cultivator who saw him would take a detour. The same goes for you. Don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, you won't be able to rest in peace even if you die. Lin Ling didn't back down. Ha! The crowd fell silent. They never thought that the junior would dare to talk back when Old Monster Lone Mountain threatened him. Such a matter simply exceeded their imaginations. This guy! Even the green-robed old man was shocked. He had warned Lin Ling to be more careful. Who knew that Lin Ling would counterattack directly? Hee, the little guy from the Martial God Battalion is not bad. However, be careful of being too arrogant and losing your life at any time. Another person was discontent, releasing a cold laugh. Lin Ling looked over, discovering that the one who spoke was Burial Chiefing King. Moreover, the other party recognized his origins. Lin Ling sneered and didn't want to waste his breath. However, it seemed like there were many voices against Lin Ling. The Martial God Battalion works for the Great Azure Divine Dynasty in the name of justice. However, they have offended many people. Many people in the Martial God Battalion want to kill them. A charming voice was heard. On top of an ancient city wall, a woman in a cheongsam was sitting there lazily with her long legs crossed. Her fair and slender legs were extremely attractive. She was like a queen. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. That was because he knew her. Queen Qianji. In the past, when Lin Ling was about to join the Martial God Battalion, he participated in a scout mission to destroy a county in the prairie. That was when he met Queen Qianji. He was almost kidnapped by Queen Qianji. Most importantly, Queen Qianji seemed to be very familiar with his origin. In fact, Lin Ling wasn't the only one who was surprised. Even Queen Qianji was surprised to see Lin Ling here. She was curious about Lin Ling. She wasn't sure if Lin Ling was Li Xiaoyao, but she had her suspicions. Since so many people want to kill him, then let's kill him. He's just an ant. I don't like it. Another old monster said. Who said I want to kill him? I just want to capture him and make him my male slave. To everyone's surprise, Queen Qianji spoke up for Lin Ling. Her every move was filled with the domineering aura of a formidable person, which silenced the old monster who spoke. They had all heard of Queen Qianji's domineering aura. Of course, there were also those who weren't afraid of her. Just as they were about to speak up, darkness descended from the sky. The darkness came without any warning. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they became cautious. Almost at the same time, the darkness condensed into a figure. It was a black figure, as if it was a shadow. No matter what grudges or conflicts there are, I hope that we can settle them after the 8 gods' heavenly palace ends. Whoever dares to make a move now will die. The shadow spoke. As you wish. All the experts replied in unison. That shadow was in the true god realm, and he was one of the strongest experts in this plan. And his origin was also very frightening. He was the triple kill expert of the Flying Dragon Organization. And Yi. This person is from the Flying Dragon Organization and has a record of 3 kills. The so-called 3 kills are from the assassination missions issued by the Flying Dragon Organization. He completed 3 difficult missions and obtained the title from that. The old man in green secretly transmitted his voice to Lin Ling. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He had heard of the Flying Dragon Organization before. During the Battle of the Divine List in the Martial God Battalion, it was said that the commander of the Army King was from the Flying Dragon Organization. This assassin's alliance was spread all over the 9 prefectures, and it was a fearsome name. I agree with what An Yi said. At the same time, the sunset glow appeared, and a spirited old man seemed to walk out from the sunset glow. My lord. The old man in green immediately saluted. This person seemed to be his superior. Another expert in the true god realm. Lin Ling thought to himself. He guessed that the old man was a big shot in the Fuxing manner. After the old man appeared, he looked deeply at Lin Ling, and then looked at the crowd with a smile. Compared to the various old monsters around, the old man was obviously more normal. Lord Sunset Glory of the Fuxing Manor. The green-robed elder whispered into Lin Ling's ear, and Lin Ling nodded. The 2 strongest leaders of this mission had appeared, and with so many strong cultivators gathered for this mission, there could be more than just 2 leaders. In fact, his guess was right. The 3rd leader had appeared. This was a man in white armor. His steps were like a dragon, and he was full of dominance. He had a heroic beard on his face, and he looked like a king. Chapter 23-28. Falling time and space. The Heavenly Court was another huge force in the 9 states. Moreover, this man had another identity. He was the 2nd generation of Zhongling Academy, one of the 3 great academies in the Green State. He was the youngest among the 3, but his strength had already reached the true god realm. In an instant, all the experts had gathered. Lin Ling stared deeply at the white-armored man. A member of the Heavenly Court? Coincidentally, he was his enemy. Bring all the travel permits here and bring all the cannon fodder here. Prepare to open the 8 gods' heavenly palace. At this moment, Battle Emperor Ling Ying spoke in a dignified voice. With these words, all the experts became excited. The Eight Gods' heavenly palace was said to be a secret realm left behind by the 8 gods of the martial god realm. Those who entered the 9 palaces would reach the peak of the martial god realm. This trip, whether they would soar to the heavens or fall forever, it all depended on this moment. Not only them, when the cannon fodder and other experts arrived, all of them became excited. Even Lin Ling was the same. The 8 gods' heavenly palace, it was time for him to return. As long as he could obtain the time and space divine steel, he would be halfway to success on the martial path. Open the heavenly palace. Someone shouted. The ground shook, and all the soil began to flow backward. Gradually, a huge heavenly palace appeared. The heavenly palace was glorious, and the path to the palace was at the top. The 9th floor was at the deepest part of the ground. Blood flowed out continuously. Obviously, opening the heavenly palace had sacrificed a lot of lives. Everyone did not hesitate and walked toward the heavenly palace. Heavenly palace, heavenly palace, we meet again. Lin Ling looked at the 8 gods' heavenly palace with nostalgia. In the past, he did not sacrifice many lives to enter, but relied on another secret technique to enter. Now, he was revisiting the old place. Suddenly, he smiled coldly and stared at a youth who was about to enter the heavenly palace. You're called Xueqi, right? Let me remind you, don't touch the heavenly palace. Rumble. Just as he finished speaking, a ray of light shot out from the heavenly palace. A giant steel fell, suppressing the 9 heavenly palaces of Green State. Out of curiosity, this person touched the door of the heavenly palace and triggered the restriction. Boom! When the huge stone steel completely smashed down, everyone saw that there were a large number of words on the stone steel. 8 gods' heavenly palace. Dead enter. Living escape. This was a warning. Of course, to everyone, the one who was most surprised was Lin Ling. This was because he had just entered the heavenly palace, but Lin Ling seemed to know some taboos. At the same time, sand appeared around the stone tablet and turned into a silhouette. It was Xueqi, but he was obviously injured. Of course, compared to the injuries on the surface, he was even more furious because he had lost face. This made his face extremely gloomy. Isn't it great? Lin Ling smiled and strode into the heavenly palace. It was as if he wasn't the one who had been captured, but was more like the master. Seeing this, many experts secretly narrowed their eyes as they were shocked. Hee, I'm getting more and more interested in him. Xueqi Queen smiled seductively. Her breasts were bouncing. After entering the heavenly palace, everyone discovered that this place was a world of its own. The surroundings were pitch black, and a large number of huge rocks were floating in all directions. Moreover, rocks would shoot over from time to time, making one feel as if they had arrived in the starry sky. Meteor spacetime. Lin Ling looked around with a smile on his face. Bang! Almost at the same time, a meteor shot over. Some of the cannon fodder didn't react in time and were directly blown to pieces. Suddenly, a large number of panicked cries rang out. The cannon fodder and powerhouses fled in all directions, but they still couldn't escape the attacks of the meteors. Besides the 3 leaders, even the late World King powerhouses were left in an extremely distressed state. Don't panic, don't panic. What are these meteors? Why can't my world essence block them? Voices rang out everywhere. The crowd was like a hornet's nest that had exploded, fleeing in all directions. Haha, this is meteor spacetime. The more chaotic you are, the faster you die. Suddenly, someone laughed with satisfaction, mocking those who had died. Looking around, it was one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province, Sunbone. Tai Tianyi was beside him, and they all had gloating expressions on their faces. As for behind them, there were several guides. They were guides like Lin Ling, and it was clear that these guides had given them directions. As these words came out, many people reacted and no longer dared to move. Then they discovered that these meteors followed people. The more you ran, the more the meteors chased after you. If you didn't move, the meteors would ignore you. Of course, this was easy to say. In truth, if no one warned them, they would still run. After all, when a meteor crashed down, no one could remain calm. In my opinion, we should kill those useless guides. They have caused so many of us to die. Sunbone indifferently said, his eyes staring at Lin Ling. It was clear that Tai Tianyi had asked him for help. As for Lin Ling, he was also a guide, but he was obviously useless, so he proposed to kill him. Suddenly, Many people echoed his sentiments. However, the three leaders didn't speak, causing many people to helplessly shake their heads. As for the three leaders, they stared ahead. This meteor spacetime was too large, so how could they reach the second level? Moreover, what treasures were there here? For a moment, many people had the same idea. Only Lin Ling sneered. Without saying a word, he quietly flew toward a huge meteor in the distance. At this moment, no one was paying attention to him, and no one was afraid that he would run away. After all, this was a dangerous place, and he would die faster if he ran away alone. However, a few people were paying attention to him. One of them was Shi Wenba. He seemed to be worried about Lin Ling. The other three people were the cloaked man, Void, Queen Qianji, and the old man in green. When they saw Lin Ling flying toward a meteor, they immediately followed him. When Lin Ling landed on the meteor, they stepped forward and looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling was surprised. "Why are you following me? We are afraid that you will run away," Queen Qianji said with a charming smile. Of course, she didn't mean what she said. Lin Ling sneered. He couldn't be bothered to pay attention to these people. Instead, he looked forward. In the void in front of him, tens of thousands of people were still floating there. They thought that they were safe, but soon, more meteors were flying toward them. They seemed to be meteors that had existed for hundreds of millions of years. This, should we move or not? Those meteors are flying toward us. What a huge meteor. I want to run away. Senior Sunbone. Should we run away? The people panicked. Their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. They wanted to run away, but they didn't dare to. They were afraid that the meteors would chase after them. In fact, even Sunbone's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He didn't know why this happened. Finally, when the meteors were getting closer and closer, he couldn't help but be the first to run away. Fuck. Many people cursed angrily. Boom, boom. At the same time, the meteors fell and killed a large number of lives. Even Sunbone was severely injured. As he was running away, he killed a few of his guides in anger. Chapter 23-29. Meeting the martial god tree again. Look over there. Those guys are hiding in the meteorites. They're fine. Yes. Someone with sharp eyes noticed the situation at Lin Ling's side. Lin Ling and the others were fine, and even seemed to be enjoying the show. Their expressionless faces made Sunbone's face turn gloomy. In my opinion, those who are talking nonsense and trying to kill everyone should be killed. Standing on the meteorite, Lin Ling spoke indifferently, directly rebuking Sunbone. Do you know who you're talking to? Sunbone's face instantly turned cold, and he shouted sternly. Lin Ling is so arrogant, he will never yield in front of an expert. The crowd was secretly shocked. Because of Lin Ling's arrogance, he had offended many experts. All right, don't forget the rules, someone said, causing Sunbone to frown. He could only suppress his anger, because the person who spoke was not simple. Fortunately, we followed him, or we would have been the ones to suffer. Yes. Behind Lin Ling, Queen Qianji and the others looked at each other, secretly feeling lucky. No wonder Lin Ling was acting so sneakily. It turned out that he was already aware of it, and had been waiting for a good show. In fact, Lin Ling already knew that the meteorites were not only chasing people, but they would also shoot towards you even if you didn't move. Only by hiding in the meteorites floating in the void would one be safe. Seems like this guy is really familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Yes. As for the old man in green, his eyes had a strange look. Subsequently, more and more people appeared on Lin Ling's meteorite. The travel guides looked at Lin Ling with envy, and Lu Yi was among them. Little friend, what should we do next? Among the 3 leaders, Luo Riyao looked at Lin Ling with shock in his eyes. This was because the 8 gods' heavenly palace was a name that many people knew. However, there were not many people who were familiar with the heavenly palace. Even the guides they captured were only slightly familiar with the heavenly palace. Who would have thought that this mysterious youth would be more familiar with the heavenly palace than everyone else? Go where there's light, Lin Ling replied indifferently. All right, then let's do as you say. Luo Riyao nodded and glanced at the crowd, seemingly asking if they had any opinions. Everyone seemed to agree. Among these powerhouses, many of them were dissatisfied with Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling was indeed somewhat powerful, so they temporarily endured it. Let's get this straight. I don't want to hear any more threats like before. However, Lin Ling also took the opportunity to raise his conditions. All right, I promise you. Sunset Sun nodded immediately and looked at everyone threateningly. What he meant was, if anyone dared to harm Lin Ling again, don't blame us for being merciless. Bastard! The two heavens' wills cursed in their hearts. To them, Lin Ling was only an ant, but he was so proud of himself in front of them. Soon, the crowd moved forward again. Then they discovered that the meteorites here were of various colors. Some were motionless, some were swaying slightly, and some were drifting aimlessly. There were all kinds of strange things. The crowd didn't dare to fly around randomly. They all followed the meteorites. This way it was much safer. There's an ancient tree growing on that meteorite. It's the martial god tree. Suddenly, the Luo Sha thorn let out a cry of surprise. On top of a huge meteorite in front of them, there was a sapling as tall as a human. There were many fruits on the tree, emitting rings of light. Unfortunately, those fruits were not ripe yet. That was the martial god tree. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. The martial god barracks also had a tree like this, which only grew in the void of the universe. Moreover, the divine tree in front of them was immature. The fruits could be eaten directly. If it grew, the fruits would become the talent fruit. It seems to be the martial god tree of the immortal level. Many powerhouses licked their lips. Although it was not of the Xian level, it could still be helpful for cultivation. However, no one dared to move carelessly. The danger of the meteorite spacetime was obvious to all. Since it's a guide, it should be the guide who explores the path. Lin Ling, you go. At this time, Old Monster Lone Mountain suddenly looked at Lin Ling and said. He actually wanted Lin Ling to explore the unknown path. There are so many cannon fodder and guides here. Why do you want Lin Ling to go? However, the green-robed old man immediately said. That place was very dangerous. If Lin Ling went, he would definitely die. He was the one who guided us to this path. Then, he should be the first to explore the things we encounter on the way. Old Monster Lone Mountain sneered. That's right. Since he guided us to this path, he should be the first to experiment when we encounter danger. The Sea Burial Disorderly Phoenix King also said. In the distance, the two heavenly talents stared at Lin Ling with sneers. Obviously, they were trying to teach Lin Ling a lesson. After all, 60% of the people here were stronger than Lin Ling. Lin Ling should be humble in front of them, not arrogant. You guys are too petty. If it weren't for his guidance, you would still be chased by meteorites. Now that you're safe, you've forgotten about the well digger. Hearing everyone's words, the green-robed old man's face turned ugly and he objected again. However, he was the only one who objected. The others were silent. Whether they were hostile to Lin Ling or not, they definitely needed someone to explore the path. Lin Ling smiled and looked at Sunset Brilliance. Senior, do you want me to explore the path? Not far away. Sunset Brilliance's eyes flickered. He could also see that many people wanted to teach Lin Ling a lesson. In fact, he also had the same idea because he also felt that Lin Ling was too difficult to control. He was very arrogant. Then will you go? Sunset Brilliance suddenly said. He was thinking that if Lin Ling was in danger, he would lend a hand and take the opportunity to lower Lin Ling's arrogance. Why wait for his reply? If we want him to go, he will go. Seeing that one of the three leaders was asking for Lin Ling's opinion, the crowd was very dissatisfied. They did not give Lin Ling any other choice. Hearing those words, Lin Ling's expression remained unchanged. I can go, but if I encounter any danger along the way, will there be anyone to help me? You dream on. If you die ahead, then you can only blame yourself for not being tough enough. Cold laughter rang out instantly. What a joke. Lin Ling was such a weakling. Why should they help him? In fact, the three leaders would not let anything happen to Lin Ling. After all, Lin Ling knew more than the others. Therefore, they only wanted to suppress Lin Ling's pride and make Lin Ling more obedient. Looks like I'm not that popular. Lin Ling shook his head and revealed a faint smile. If that's the case, I don't need your help. However, if I get anything, I'm sure you'll be too embarrassed to share it with me. These people wanted to suppress his spirit. How could Lin Ling not know this? Unfortunately, Lin Ling would not let them have their way. After all, if he listened to everything they said, Lin Ling would lose the initiative. We'll talk about it if you can survive. Chapter 2330. Another increase in strength, go. I promise you. Yes. Luo Ri Yao nodded. If Lin Ling went to scout, no one would help him. Naturally, the treasures he obtained would not be shared with others. Although Lin Ling was a guide, he still had to be given some benefits. Of course, the prerequisite was that Lin Ling did not encounter any danger. Hearing that, Lin Ling fell silent. He stared at the meteorite in front of him and did not move. Go, weren't you very arrogant before? Yes. Looks like he's just trying to show off. Now that he knows he's weak, he should just shut his mouth and listen to us. He'll do whatever we say. We are no worse than this guide. Many powerhouses took the opportunity to suppress Lin Ling. As for the guides, they spoke out of jealousy. They all thought that Lin Ling did not dare to go. He was just showing off before. However, Lin Ling still did not move in the face of those sneers. If he doesn't dare to go, then let's continue. One of the three leaders, An Yi, spoke out. He also thought that Lin Ling did not dare to go. Wait, did I say I wouldn't go? However, at that moment, Lin Ling finally opened his mouth lazily. His tone was calm, which surprised everyone. An Ye's eyes flickered. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so calm when talking to him. I was just a little nervous before. That's why I was hesitating. But since I've boasted, I have no choice but to go. So, for the sake of my dignity, I will definitely go. Lin Ling smiled faintly and strode forward. For dignity? Haha, did he forget that he is only a guide? Even the weak have dignity? However, this brat is also a tough nut to crack. Let's see if he will die there for the sake of that last breath. Many people were stunned. Then their sneers deepened. Lin Ling did not want to be humiliated by powerhouses, so he braced himself and went. From this, it could be seen that Lin Ling did not have much confidence. This brat is really stubborn. Luo Riyao looked at the green-robed elder and shook his head. Alas, why go against everybody for the sake of one breath? The blue-clothed old man bitterly smiled. After meeting Lin Ling, he realized that Lin Ling was very stubborn. Let alone facing experts like them, even if he were to face the sky of the martial god world, he probably wouldn't kneel down. Lin Ling was like a proud and aloof swordsman. He didn't fit in with the crowd and did things his own way. However, he was also prepared to make a move. He believed that the meteorite must be dangerous, and he could not let anything happen to Lin Ling. But the reality was that Lin Ling was very safe. There wasn't even the slightest wind. Lin Ling seemed to be walking on the safest path in the heavenly palace. We're here. Furthermore, he plucked all of the fruits on the tree. He's back now. Everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. He had succeeded just like that? It was too simple. Even Luo Riyao's eyes narrowed. There was no danger at all? Okay, I'm back. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling's smiling voice was heard. He was unscathed at this moment. Everyone was stunned. In the next moment, many experts' foreheads were filled with blue veins. They had been fooled by Lin Ling. Due to their fear of the meteorite, they thought that the colorful meteorite was definitely dangerous. However, that meteorite was actually very safe. Hand over the martial god fruit. Finally, an angry voice was heard. It was Sun Gu. How could they be satisfied when they saw that Lin Ling had obtained the treasure so easily while they had not obtained anything? That's right. Leave one martial god fruit and hand over the rest. Don't be too greedy. Those martial god fruits should have been ours, but we were fooled by you. Hand it over. Many experts spoke up too. Even Lu Yin was speaking up for them. In their eyes, Lin Ling had taken advantage of them. Besides, although the martial god fruits were only for the immortal flesh, they could still improve their strength if they were used for cultivation. Hee. Lin Ling burst into laughter when he heard the angry roars around him. He suddenly yelled, I asked you to go, but none of you dared to go. Now you have the nerve to say that the martial god fruits belong to you? Are you all so thick-skinned? I only have one word for you, piss off. His voice was extremely loud. It echoed across the rift like thunder. How bold. The experts were enraged. Lin Ling was asking them to piss off? I know you're furious. If you're not satisfied, then come and kill me. Kill whoever dares to. Lin Ling's aura grew stronger. He took a step forward fearlessly. Were these experts treating Lin Ling as cannon fodder? If there was danger, he would go first. If there was a reward, everyone would share it. How could there be such a good deal? Since Lin Ling had started cultivating until now, he'd never suffered a loss like this. The reward this time belongs to him because he risked his life to obtain those treasures. Not to mention that we'll definitely encounter many meteorites along the way. There are treasures on them as well. Everyone can seize them when the time comes. Meanwhile, the warlord Ling Ying tried to smooth things over. Many experts could only suppress their anger. That's right. Moreover, we've already agreed that we won't help him if he encounters danger. So we'll be embarrassed to share the treasures. Luo Riyao spoke as well. Many experts had embarrassed expressions on their faces. They were indeed quite shameless. What a bunch of mobs. At this moment, Lin Ling laughed coldly. After that, he placed the martial god fruits into his mouth. These treasures would only bring greed to him if he kept them. So, it was best to swallow them directly. The eyes of many experts narrowed when they saw the fruits enter his stomach. Lin Ling is going to swallow the martial god fruits just like that? He's courting death. Each martial god fruit represented a different talent. Lin Ling had swallowed at least 100 fruits, which would form 100 different talents in his body. Once they clashed, Lin Ling would definitely die. Ignorant kid. Old Monster Lone Mountain sneered. He felt that Lin Ling was overestimating himself. Boom, boom, boom. However, after he spoke, a terrifying aura erupted from Lin Ling's body. The roars of gods and demons could be heard. The aura of the Fish Demon King and Hell also soared into the sky. A breakthrough. Lin Ling had obviously broken through. Moreover, it was a breakthrough in his talent. Although no one knew what level he had reached, it was obvious that Lin Ling wasn't dead. This was beyond everyone's understanding of martial arts. Every medicine was poisonous to some extent. Not to mention such a powerful martial god fruit. However, Lin Ling had swallowed a large number of martial god fruits. Not only was he not dead, but his strength had also increased greatly. How was this possible? What kind of cultivation does this guy have? Old Monster Lone Mountain was also incomparably shocked. His previous self-confidence seemed to have been ruthlessly slapped in the face. No one knew that Lin Ling had cultivated the Chaos Deity formula. He could refine anything, including chaos. It was just a martial god fruit. What was there to be afraid of? At this moment, Lin Ling opened his eyes and couldn't help but smile. He felt that his god-demon body had increased again. It had reached more than 4,000 points of power. Chapter 23:31. Meteor Snake. Right now, Lin Ling could kill Tai Tianyi in one move. However, Lin Ling quickly restrained his aura. He did not intend to reveal his strength. Of course, even so, everyone was still in shock, especially Tai Tianyi. He was the most jealous. Let's go. Luo Riyao did not pay too much attention to it. In his opinion, Lin Ling might have been lucky enough to obtain some kind of secret technique that allowed him to refine the martial god fruit. That being said, if he knew that Lin Ling possessed the most mysterious cultivation technique in the martial god realm, he would definitely go crazy. Even if he had to give up the 8 gods' heavenly palace, he had to obtain the primal chaos divine formula. The group continued onward, and soon, they encountered another meteorite that was emitting 5-colored light. The crowd began to stir. Soon after, he discovered that there were indeed treasures of heaven and earth on the meteorite. It's the 100 Worlds flower. Someone cried out in alarm. That type of flower was the same as the martial god tree, able to grow in the void. This was clearly an extremely precious treasure. Mine. Mine. Didn't they come to the 8 gods' heavenly palace for these treasures? Lin Ling, you won't have a chance this time. In the distance, the Luo Sha Thorn looked at Lin Ling mockingly and swaggered towards the meteorite. Previously, Lin Ling had been greedy once, and the following treasures obviously had nothing to do with Lin Ling. Go, I won't be jealous of you. Lin Ling shrugged, as if he didn't care at all. His current strength had greatly increased, and he needed some time to familiarize himself with the strength of his body, so he didn't plan on obtaining any more treasures. Most importantly, a 5-colored meteorite did not mean that there was no danger. Before Lin Ling obtained the martial god fruit, he had waited for a long time. In fact, he was waiting for the meteorite to change its color. This was because the meteorite had 7 different colors. Although it looked colorful, the colors were constantly changing. The 7 colors corresponded to the treasures on the meteorites. If someone who didn't know how to calculate went near the meteorites, the consequences would be dire. Yo, you were the one who found the path. Now that you see the treasure being taken away by others, you must be very jealous. Queen Qianji suddenly said with a smile. What's there to be jealous of? Compared to treasures, life is more important. Lin Ling shook his head. Queen Qianji was stunned. What did Lin Ling mean? However, she thought that Lin Ling was just trying to show off. In fact, her heart ached for him, so she said again, why do you have to hide it? Sometimes, it's better to be honest. Pretending to be mysterious will only make people look down on you. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a rumbling noise sounded from up ahead. The meteor exploded, as if heaven and earth were falling apart. Everyone who got close to the meteorite was killed. Even the Luo Sha thorn was shocked to the point of spitting out blood. Queen Qianji was stunned. Lin Ling was not trying to show off. He was not jealous at all. The crowd was also stunned. They couldn't believe their eyes. Why was it that Lin Ling was fine when he snatched the treasure, but they were fine when they approached? Everyone looked at Lin Ling angrily. Lin Ling shrugged as if he didn't see them. It's just a matter of luck. What he said was like pouring oil on the fire. Those old monsters almost lost their minds and killed Lin Ling. This guy is ruthless. He secretly fights back against those who are hostile to him. Wow! Seeing that, Luo Riyao's impression of Lin Ling improved again. He had a feeling that Lin Ling knew about the danger, but Lin Ling didn't mention it. He purposely framed those people. After that, no one dared to get close to the meteors. After the Luo Sha thorn returned, he stared at Lin Ling with murderous intent and shouted, Lin Ling, you're asking for death. You knew it was dangerous, but you didn't mention it. Wow! Am I your father? Or your mother? Do I have the obligation to warn you? When I went to snatch the treasure, you didn't have the obligation to help me. Now, you're blaming me. Don't you think you're being unreasonable? Is this your first time out here? Do you think the 8 gods' heavenly palace is your backyard? Please, do you have a brain? Before entering the heavenly palace, the stone tablet was warning you. 8 gods' heavenly palace, the dead enter, the living avoid. However, as soon as the Luo Sha thorn finished speaking, Lin Ling bombarded him with a bunch of words. The Luo Sha thorn couldn't refute him. Hearing that, the crowd was angry but couldn't say anything. Because Lin Ling's words were reasonable. Lin Ling couldn't warn everyone. He wasn't their father or mother. Let's move forward. Don't complicate things. Seeing Lin Ling's verbal battle with the crowd, Battle King Ling Ying also spoke out, causing many people to restrain their anger and continue forward. Along the way, no one dared to casually collect treasures. Gradually, a huge light stone appeared in front of them. It was different from the surrounding meteors. It was extremely dazzling. Seeing that, everyone was delighted. Were they finally going to leave the meteor space-time? Lin Ling's eyes lit up with joy. They were finally here. That's a light stone. Break it and you'll enter the 2nd level. Lin Ling's voice raised the crowd's spirits. They all flew forward and attacked at the same time. Looking at the crazy crowd, Lin Ling shook his head helplessly and said, I forgot to say. Once the light stone is broken, the meteor-flowing snake will awaken. Boom! Boom! However, Lin Ling only said this after everyone had attacked the light stone. Obviously, it was too late. After the huge light stone was broken, a huge snake that seemed to be condensed from light slowly awakened. Moreover, it swam towards the crowd ferociously. Its aura was terrifying. Even the 3 leaders sucked in a breath of cold air. Only Lin Ling was calm, because he already knew all of this. This was also the reason why he still followed everyone. He needed these strong cultivators to block the light snake. Then, he could enter the 2nd level. Why didn't you say so earlier? I'm going to kill you. Sea Burial Chi Phoenix King's angry voice came from the front. He hated Lin Ling because he was the closest to the terrifying light snake. He thought he was going to enter the 2nd level, so he was too excited. He didn't expect that there would be such a hidden danger. Hearing that, Lin Ling sneered. Do you think the meteor-flowing snake won't appear if I tell you? Since we're all going to enter the second level, we'll have to face the meteor-flowing snake sooner or later. Although the three leaders complained that Lin Ling was too insidious, they didn't blame Lin Ling. After all, it was a risk that they would have to face sooner or later. Lin Ling, you've got guts. Sea Burial Chi Phoenix King was so angry that his face turned ferocious. He had become cannon fodder. Moreover, he found that among all the strong cultivators in the martial gods' camp, this guy was the most despicable. Sizzle! 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 At this moment, the meteor-flowing snake swam out. What was more terrifying was that it didn't make any sound. Moreover, it was extremely fast. As for the attacks that fell on the meteor-flowing snake, all of them disappeared as if they had entered the light. That was too terrifying. It was simply invincible. The light was the realm essence that could block everything. Chapter 2332. Rushing into the second floor, you'd better work together to suppress its light. Otherwise, when its light gets stronger, all of us will die. Lin Ling looked ahead and reminded them. Its light, what is the strongest level it can reach? Luo Riyao frowned and looked at Lin Ling. It can cover the entire meteorite spacetime. Lin Ling said word by word. His words shocked Luo Riyao. The meteorite spacetime was like the void of the universe. It was pitch black, but the terrifying light emitted by the snake could turn the pitch-black void into light. This was too terrifying. Thank you, Luo Riyao hurriedly said to Lin Ling. This sentence was from the bottom of his heart. He now realized that they were lucky to have Lin Ling as their guide. However, Lin Ling shook his head and did not say anything. At this moment, the mysterious meteorite stream snake was constantly moving. It seemed to have no eyes, but its head was looking at Lin Ling. It seemed to have sensed a familiar aura. It did not know how many years it had been here. Anyway, it remembered that among the people who entered the Eight Gods' heavenly palace, there were only a few people that it cared about. One of them was a mysterious young man, and now, there was the aura of that young man in front of it. Kill. Almost at the same time, all the experts attacked, wanting to kill the meteorite stream snake. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head because he knew that the snake was immortal. As long as there was light, it could be resurrected. The fierce battle in front lasted for 3 hours. At the same time, Lin Ling finally moved because a light spot appeared behind the meteorite stream snake. That was the path to the second floor. Along the way, there were a lot of light spots around, and Lin Ling casually collected them. This was the meteorite stream light, a rare material for forging treasures. Although Lin Ling's actions were silent, as time passed, many people noticed Lin Ling's actions. They immediately shouted coldly. Lin Ling, what are you doing? What? To the second floor. Lin Ling didn't hide anything and continued flying forward. You're courting death. Hearing this, the cultivators who were floating in the void were furious. They had blocked the meteor-flowing snake, but Lin Ling had taken the opportunity to escape. How despicable. Unfortunately, they obviously couldn't catch up to Lin Ling. They could only helplessly watch as Lin Ling left. Don't worry, he will die, Sea Burial Chi Phoenix Lord said gloomily in the crowd. At this moment, he was the closest to Lin Ling. However, as he had been seriously injured, he didn't act rashly. However, he believed that the mysterious ancient snake would not let Lin Ling have his way. In fact, Lin Ling was indeed in great danger at this moment. However, if he didn't leave, he would be controlled by these experts. This wasn't something Lin Ling wanted to see. Before Lin Ling entered the Eight Gods' heavenly palace, he already had a plan. He would use the natural perils of this place to shake off these experts. The closer he got to the light spot, the closer he got to the meteor-flowing snake. At this moment, the dazzling ancient snake finally looked at Lin Ling. A wisp of aura that seemed to come from ancient times filled the air. Upon seeing this, Sea Burial Chi Phoenix Lord sneered. Lin Ling, go to hell. Along the way, they had been riding on Lin Ling's head, so their hatred for Lin Ling was getting stronger and stronger. Lin Ling didn't care about those who were gloating at his misfortune. He flew with all his strength and rushed towards the light spot at his fastest speed. Don't stare at me, he secretly shouted in his heart. However, the more he feared something, the closer the terrifying thing got. Chi-chi. The meteor-flowing snake slithered over. Its speed was faster than light. When Lin Ling was about to step into the light spot, the snake appeared behind him. It raised its head high as if it was an existence that had controlled life and death since ancient times. As long as Lin Ling dared to move, he would die immediately. Sensing the ferocious aura behind him, Lin Ling's forehead was covered in cold sweat. A life and death crisis was approaching. However, there was only silence behind him. Lin Ling turned his head and saw the meteor-flowing snake looking at him indifferently. It didn't make any unnecessary movements. It recognized me. A thought came to Lin Ling's mind. Then he smiled and said, "Long time no see." The meteor-flowing snake still didn't move. It just looked at Lin Ling quietly. Its body was covered in light, making it impossible for people to see its eyes. Upon seeing this, Lin Ling tentatively took a step forward. He was taking a gamble. In the past, he ruled the 8 gods celestial palace and defeated the meteor-flowing snake with his powerful strength. Today, he was revisiting the old place, so how could he give up so easily? When the meteor-flowing snake saw Lin Ling move, the light on its body finally intensified. However, gradually, it seemed to have thought of something and finally stopped paying attention to Lin Ling. Perhaps it was because too much time had passed, or perhaps it was because it was too lonely, so it cherished being able to see an old friend of the past. No one could understand its thoughts, and no one could know how boring it was to guard this place in the void for countless years. Therefore, it would cherish anyone who left a deep impression on it. The huge light snake slithered toward the crowd again, causing the gloating crowd to feel as if they were struck by lightning. How could this be? Impossible. Not far away, the sea burial disorderly Phoenix King let out a jealous voice. He was so angry that his body was trembling and his face was distorted. Lin Ling had succeeded. Could it be that the meteor-flowing snake would stop killing people as long as they got close to that light spot? He was unwilling to accept this. He also wanted to enter the second level. Moreover, if Lin Ling could succeed, so could he. After all, there would be more treasures on the second level. He wanted to become stronger. Therefore, he moved his body and shot toward Lin Ling. However, as soon as he moved, the meteor-flowing snake also moved, and its speed was even faster than his. A light wave appeared and cut everything. The painful cry of the blue phoenix could be heard in the void. The sea burial disorderly Phoenix King was cut in two and died. He stared at Lin Ling, feeling even more unwilling. Why could Lin Ling be recognized by the meteor-flowing snake, but he couldn't? Why? His head flew out, and for some reason, it flew toward Lin Ling. Lin Ling caught it with his right hand and held it in his hand. Staring at the unwilling eyes on the head, he finally put it into his ring. The sea burial disorderly Phoenix King thought that he was recognized by luck. In fact, he didn't know how long the battle between Li Xiaoyao and the meteor-flowing snake had lasted. Because of that battle, Li Xiaoyao and the meteor-flowing snake had known each other for a long time. They were enemies, but they appreciated each other. Therefore, it was all because of the karma left behind in the past. Then, without any hesitation, Lin Ling entered the light spot. He was also the first person to step into the second level in this grand plan. For many experts, this was a miracle. He entered the second level. The crowd in the distance was filled with jealousy and confusion. As for the two from the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, their jealousy was stronger than anyone else's. They were the chosen ones, but they weren't recognized by the meteor-flowing snake. However, Lin Ling, a good-for-nothing existence, succeeded. Did this mean that the meteor-flowing snake looked down on them? Were they weaker than Lin Ling? Let's do it. Even if we lose our lives, we must suppress that snake. Chapter 23:33. Earth Elemental Land. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The battle in the void became even more intense. Everyone was going all out. Gradually, the light of the meteor-flowing snake began to dim. It seemed that it was only a matter of time before it disappeared. On the other side, Lin Ling stepped into the second level. This was the Earth Elemental Land. Looking around, an endless desert stretched out and waves of heat soared into the heavens. It was as if there were no signs of life in this barren land. I'm finally back. Looking at the endless desert in front of him, Lin Ling revealed a smile that hadn't appeared in a long time. This was because the space-time divine tablet was located in the second level of the Earth Elemental Land. In the past, Li Xiaoyao had never been able to reach the third level. In the end, he had failed and left behind the space-time divine tablet. But today, Lin Ling had returned to take back the treasure of the past. Although the process was fraught with danger, the closer he got to the space-time divine tablet, the more it would be worth it. With the strength of the 3 leaders, they will be able to enter soon. I have to find the space-time divine tablet before they enter. Lin Ling carried the ancient sword on his back. He stepped forwards, following the desert. This desert was extremely mysterious. In this desert, the moisture in one's body would constantly disappear. Moreover, let alone the human body, even the treasures on one's body would gradually lose their spiritual energy. This was a type of source power of chaos. No one was an exception in this desert. Lin Ling first swallowed all the treasures on his body. If he didn't use them, then it would be a waste. Moreover, he also swallowed all the divine crystals. Then he continued forwards. Bang! After an unknown period of time, the ground suddenly exploded. Sand shot up into the skies and a 5-meter-long twin-tailed scorpion crawled out from the ground. Looking at its aura, it seemed to have strength equal to a first-level world king. This was a desert storm scorpion. To Lin Ling, it wasn't too terrifying. He only needed to pay attention to its poisonous tail. Moreover, its poisonous tail was also a good material. Lin Ling's complexion was as calm as an ancient well. He didn't erupt with the power of world essence. Instead, he grasped the tyrant song sword and slashed out with his divinity and demon body. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A huge ditch was carved out in the desert, and the desert storm scorpion was instantly split into 2. After Lin Ling collected the tail, he immediately left. In the desert, any realm essence was very precious and could not be easily wasted. This was because the recovery speed of realm essence here was very slow and could even be said to be non-existent. Along the way, Lin Ling encountered many unique divine beasts in the desert, but he didn't pay much attention to them because he knew that the most terrifying thing here was the 8 Hellcorpse worm. I am currently at the 1st level of the World King realm and my foundation is the most solid. I can also cultivate the 5th level of the Profound Sword Record. Previously, Lin Ling knew that his strength was still too weak, so he used this period of time to increase his strength. Luckily, his divinity and demon body had been greatly enhanced. Currently, within the 1st level of the World King realm, there were few that could match him. As time went by, the 5th level of the Shenzhen record was also successfully cultivated. This level was called the Mountain of Blades and Sword Trees. With a single sword strike, it formed a tremendous vibrating power that could shatter a world. When combined with Lin Ling's divinity and demon body, it could be said to be extremely terrifying. Although the Shenzhen record was a low 2nd-grade origin world martial art, by relying on this sword strike alone, there were many low 2nd-grade origin world martial arts that couldn't block this sword strike. And the reason he was able to cultivate it so quickly was because of Lin Ling's left eye and the ultimate sword Dao. In particular, the ultimate sword Dao was of great help to Lin Ling. After walking for an unknown period of time, Lin Ling's handsome face was filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if he were a lone swordsman. And in the desert, more and more figures gradually appeared. It was clear that those people from Meteor Spacetime had also entered the 2nd level. And on this day, in the desert in front of him, a small black dot appeared. This small black dot was extremely conspicuous in the yellow sand, and there were several sand beasts surrounding this black dot. It was unknown what they were doing. However, when Lin Ling approached, he saw that it was a corpse, and the surrounding sand beasts were devouring the corpse. Most importantly, the corpse belonged to someone Lin Ling knew. It was Lu Yi. This Lu Yi was also one of the guides. When he first came into contact with Lin Ling, he thought that Lin Ling was a newcomer, so he deceived Lin Ling. In the end, he was interrupted by Shi Wenba. Who would have thought that he would die here? Moreover, his eyes were wide open, and it was obvious that he was extremely unwilling to die. Sigh. Lin Ling's eyes flickered, and finally, he sighed softly. In the world of the strong, the weak had no right to live, and could die at any time in a foreign land. He could imagine how Lu Yi would rise up in the myriad worlds, becoming the most dazzling genius of his hometown. He had come to the martial god world with lofty ambitions, wanting to achieve great things, but the result was that he would forever perish here. And his death would undoubtedly cause his family and friends to be heartbroken. Lin Ling couldn't help but think of his grandfather in his hometown, Yu Yu, and the others. For them, Lin Ling wanted to become stronger, and he definitely wouldn't become cannon fodder like Lu Yi. Knowing each other is also fate. Rest in peace. Then, Lin Ling waved his right hand, and the power of the world essence caused a giant pit to appear in the desert. Lin Ling buried Lu Yi in the desert, and it could be considered as letting Lu Yi rest in peace. Although they had only met once, and their relationship was extremely bad, a person's death was like an extinguished lamp. If he could help with something, Lin Ling wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. And just as Lin Ling buried Lu Yi, suddenly, a large number of figures crossed the desert. These people were riding strange fanged camels, and as they ran, a sandstorm rose. Fanged camels were the weakest sand beasts in the desert. When he saw this, Lin Ling frowned slightly, but he didn't take any action because he noticed that these people weren't strong. There were more than a dozen people riding fanged camels, and they quickly surrounded Lin Ling. Brother Ma is still the best. You know how to catch fanged camels as mounts. This desert consumes a lot of spirit chi and water, and it'll be much more convenient for us with these mounts. A joyful voice resounded in the surroundings, and Lin Ling raised his head to look over, and he noticed that these people were all guides. Obviously, these guides were familiar with the second level and knew how to catch camels as mounts. And these guides were also staring at Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling's face was covered in sand because he was conserving spirit chi, and his body was extremely dusty, so they didn't recognize Lin Ling for a moment. "You're alone?" Finally, one of them asked, and his tone was respectful because Lin Ling's clothes made him look like a lone swordsman, so he didn't dare underestimate him. He seems to be Lin Ling. But at this moment, a sharp-eyed person let out a sharp voice. As soon as this voice fell, the previous respect and cautiousness disappeared, and everyone immediately revealed a smile. They were wondering where this strong person came from, but it turned out to be Lin Ling. As for Lin Ling, they naturally weren't afraid because Lin Ling was also a guide, and even a member of the cannon fodder, so what was so great about him? Lin Ling didn't know what they were laughing about, but he still asked, "Now, how many people have entered the second level? What about Shi Wenba?" He knew that under the cooperation of the three leaders, everyone would definitely enter the second level, but he didn't know how many people would die on the way. Chapter 2334. Astonishment. Lin Ling, I heard that you are very familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Tell us all the information you know. Also, you must have collected a lot of treasures along the way. Hand them all over. Don't think that we will be afraid just because you are attending Wenba. Strength is everything here. Those people jumped down from their camels and sneered at Lin Ling. One of the youths said calmly, "You should know that many seniors want to kill you. So, if we kill you, we can also claim credit in front of some seniors." With these words, the others became excited. Killing Lin Ling would probably give them many rewards from the seniors. Haha, our luck is not bad. Thinking of the rewards that were about to be obtained, the surrounding people laughed heartily. At first, Lin Ling was frowning, but gradually he relaxed. He sighed in his heart. Everyone was a guide, but at the critical moment, they would also attack each other. All of this was for the sake of benefits. He could not help but think of the dead Lu Yi. Lu Yi's reputation among the guides and cannon fodder was not good, but these people were worse than him. At least Lu Yi was open and aboveboard. He wanted to harm others, but he would not hide his schemes. When these people were captured, they all pretended to be pitiful to gain sympathy, but in reality, they all had the intention to harm others. "Lin Ling, did you hear me?" The calm youth said again, but his words made Lin Ling shake his head. Although Lin Ling was a guide, it did not mean that he had the strength of a genius. "Manan, what do you want to do?" At this moment, a few figures flew over from the distance. The one in the lead was Shi Wenba. Seeing Shi Wenba arrive, the surrounding people's expressions changed slightly. "Shi Wenba, this matter has nothing to do with you. Scram." The youth called Man and said coldly. Although Shi Wenba had a good reputation among the guides and cannon fodder, this was the 8 gods' heavenly palace. He did not need to be afraid. "Manan, don't go too far." Not long after, Shi Wenba and the others arrived and looked at Lin Ling in surprise. They had never thought that Lin Ling would still be alive. Lin Ling also smiled. Among so many people, he was only a little familiar with Shi Wenba. "It seems like you really want to get involved in this matter. Don't forget, this Lin Ling has offended many important people. If you help him, that's the same as offending those important people." Ma Nan coldly looked at Shi Wenba and the others. As soon as his words fell, Shi Wenba and the others clearly hesitated. After all, the matter of Lin Ling offending those lords, they also saw with their own eyes. However, Shi Wenba suddenly gritted his teeth. He seemed to have thrown caution to the wind. He took a step forward and stood in front of Lin Ling, using his actions to represent his choice. Shi Wenba, you've already made the best choice. Now the only outcome is death. Let me tell you something. Don't think that we only have this many people. I've already notified the other experts to come and help us. Then, he looked at Lin Ling. Are you going to surrender? Or commit suicide? Let me tell you, in front of me, you only have these two choices. Either commit suicide or die. With that last sentence, Shi Wenba exploded with a powerful aura, as if he was dominating the entire world, causing the people in the surroundings to cheer. They had been captured by the strong, and had always been submissive. Now they could finally hold their heads high, and have a taste of the joy of dominating the lives of others. Seeing this, Shi Wenba and the others' expressions became more serious. The situation was very troublesome. When the two sides collided, they had fewer people and would definitely be at a disadvantage. And when the experts came, they would all die. Of course, not to mention the experts, even Ma Nan's people were difficult to deal with at present. Shi Wenba never thought that the prestige he had accumulated among the cannon fodder would be so unbearable. No one gave him face at all. All of you come together. However, at this moment, Lin Ling's voice suddenly sounded, causing the laughter in the surroundings to instantly disappear. Everyone's expression froze. Lin Ling wanted them to come together? How dare you? Do you think I'm those lords? They're using you, so they let you be arrogant. We don't care about that at all. How can we allow you to be arrogant in front of us? The young man called Ma Nan reprimanded coldly and indifferently, and he'd completely forgotten that he was actually only cannon fodder in Lu Yin. He was respectful and reverent before experts, but he was arrogant and overbearing before Lin Ling. Kill him. The other young men also shouted angrily and unleashed their boundary origin seeds one after another. Lin Ling, be careful. Seeing this, Shi Wenba and the others cried out in alarm. They were all geniuses from various worlds, but there were differences in strength. Ma Nan and the others were obviously stronger. Lin Ling was also a captured genius from various worlds. His strength was definitely not enough to stop Ma Nan and the others' joint attack. Claw explosion. Tai Chi demon curse. Dragon demon hand. By the time Shi Wenba and the others wanted to attack, it was already too late. The terrifying attack blasted onto Lin Ling's body like an avalanche, and the desert was stirred up into a terrifying sandstorm. Dead. Lin Ling was definitely dead. Shi Wenba and the others' faces turned pale. Especially Shi Wenba. He seemed to have lost something, and his face was filled with anger. Ma Nan and the others had proud smiles on their faces, and they were even a little excited because killing Lin Ling meant that they could take credit in front of those lords. We're all from various worlds. Why fight to the death? However, at this moment, a soft voice suddenly floated out. In the sky full of sand, a slender figure walked out. Who else could it be but Lin Ling? Seeing this scene, everyone's expression was as if they had seen a ghost. Their strength had all given birth to boundary seeds, and they had even converted 40% of their boundary seeds. However, under their all-out attacks, Lin Ling was still alive. And most importantly, Lin Ling hadn't blocked at all. He had simply stood there and withstood their attacks. How could he be fine? Subconsciously, there was only a single conclusion in their minds, and that was that Lin Ling's strength surpassed theirs by far too much. Could he be a World King realm powerhouse that possesses the strength of an entire world? Isn't he the same as us, a genius from various worlds? How could he be so strong? Heavens, I fear his strength can compare with the geniuses of martial god world. Ma Nan and the others fell to the ground. They envied Lin Ling because they thought that Lin Ling's origins were the same as theirs. But now, they realized that Lin Ling was actually different from them. And most importantly, they had been excited that their luck was good, but now they felt that their luck was terrible. Even Shi Wenba sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't know that Lin Ling was a World King realm powerhouse. And to them, a World King realm powerhouse was a senior. They were existences that they could only look up to. Brother Shi Wenba, how could this Lin Ling be so fierce? Beside Shi Wenba, a young girl cried out in alarm. They thought that they were Lin Ling's backers, But now they discovered that Lin Ling didn't need to rely on anyone else. As for Lin Ling, he was still standing there. His expression as calm as an ancient well, like a proud and aloof swordsman. Chapter 23:35. Fighting Tai Tianyi again, not good. Shi Wenba and the others paled. Tai Tianyi was a true genius of martial god world. He wasn't someone that Lin Ling could contend with. Tai Tianyi. Lin Ling was also surprised. According to common sense, Tai Tianyi shouldn't have dared to appear in front of him. However, Lin Ling soon understood. This was because there were several people beside Tai Tianyi. One of them was an old man at the second stage of the World King realm. No wonder Tai Tianyi was so bold. Lin Ling, so you were hiding here. Young Master Tai, I'll kill him for you. After the several people landed, a gloomy old man stared at Lin Ling. His eyes were as cold as an eagle's. However, Tai Tianyi only shook his head. He sneered at Lin Ling as if he wanted to see through Lin Ling. Young Master Tai Tianyi, defeat him. Let him know what a true genius of martial god world is. Lin Ling, don't think you're so great. In front of Tai Tianyi, you're nothing. You're just a lowly bastard from the myriad worlds. How can you compare to a genius of martial god world like Tai Tianyi? Ma Nan and the others quickly flattered. They could already foresee Lin Ling's death. Listening to these voices, Lin Ling shook his head. He looked at them and said, "Yes, I came from the north. I can't compare to these geniuses of martial god world." However, before he finished speaking, Ma Nan coldly snorted and said, "You finally know how lowly you are." At this moment, he felt extremely carefree. It was as if he had crushed Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling wasn't angry. He said, "But, don't forget that you also came from the myriad worlds." As these words fell, Ma Nan and the others were stunned. They couldn't refute him. They mocked Lin Ling for being trash from the myriad worlds. However, they had forgotten that they also came from the myriad worlds. Thus, in truth, they were also cursing themselves. Of course, after being stunned for a moment, anger rose in their hearts. This was because Lin Ling was too calm. He wasn't angry at all. Instead, it was a type of disdain. His heart is higher than the sky. From his attitude, it can be seen that Lin Ling is of a higher level than Ma Nan and the others. They are not on the same level. The young girl beside Shi Wenba said with adoration. In her heart, Lin Ling was simply an exception among the geniuses of the myriad worlds. Lin Ling, don't flaunt your power of speech. In front of Senior Tai Tianyi, you won't be able to withstand 3 of his moves. Ma Nan flew into a rage out of humiliation. He then looked at Tai Tianyi respectfully. "Senior Tai Tianyi, please defeat him cleanly." The others also saluted. They were no match for Lin Ling, but they wanted to see Lin Ling defeated. "Shut up." Unfortunately, Tai Tianyi didn't even look at them. He stared deeply at Lin Ling and said, "The geniuses from the 10,000 realms are indeed quite impressive. Lin Ling, your strength is already enough to enter the 3 great academies of Qingzhou." His words left Ma Nan and the others dumbfounded. One had to know that Tai Tianyi was going to enter the 3 great academies of Qingzhou. To them, that sacred place was something they could only look up to. Therefore they could only worship and submit to Tai Tianyi. But now, Tai Tianyi actually admitted that Lin Ling was very strong. Was this a dream? "Last time, I joined forces with Luo Yazhuang to fight you, but we also failed. Luo Yazhuang was even killed by you. This time, I want to wash away my previous humiliation," Tai Tianyi said again. He didn't dare to underestimate Lin Ling. However, his words were like thunder, causing Ma Nan and the others to stand there trembling. Even Shi Wenba was the same. Lin Ling had actually come into contact with Tai Tianyi and the others, and even killed Luo Yazhuang. As for Luo Yazhuang, they had heard of this famous genius. It was said that he was one of the 12 young masters of the only commandery. He was so famous that even many geniuses in the martial god world were no match for him. Why didn't they know about this news? The funny thing was that they thought Lin Ling was the same as them, an ant-like existence. All of this was undoubtedly extremely ironic. "Tai Tianyi, you're no match for me." At this moment, Lin Ling didn't know what the others were thinking. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. That's not necessarily true. Tai Tianyi's lips curled into a confident smile. He had lost to Lin Ling, which left a flaw in his martial Dao heart. Therefore, he wanted to defeat Lin Ling with his own hands and prove that he was a rare genius in the Tating Commandery. If it was before, he definitely wouldn't have this confidence. However, not long ago, he had obtained an opportunity in the Earth Elemental Land and his realm had completely stabilized. It shouldn't be difficult for him to defeat Lin Ling. Young Master Tai, you can go all out and fight. With us around, he won't be able to escape. Beside him, the old man noticed Tai Tiany's thoughts and immediately said, "Good, I will defeat him with my own hands." Tai Tiany proudly nodded. His aura became increasingly wild. He roared out, "Lin Ling, I know that your mortal body is fierce and your sword Dao is strange. But, the first level of the World King realm depends on your world essence. To be able to truly produce the strength of a world, that is the true first level of the World King realm. If a first-level World King's realm was unstable, then their attacks would draw upon the strength of 10,000 worlds. But after stabilizing their realm, they would be able to produce the strength of an entire world." What was the strength of an entire world? It was the strength of a world. So what? Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He could also feel that Tai Tiany's strength had risen. Unfortunately, only his strength had risen? You'll understand. Tai Tiany didn't want to explain anything, because the result represented everything. He roared out once more, "Burn!" Bang! His entire body emitted a thunderous roar. Beast flames boiled and his world essence combusted, as if the entire world was being incinerated by heavenly flames. His aura climbed higher and higher. With this combat strength, he feared he could fight a second-level World King powerhouse. This was because he was burning his world essence. Is this the legendary burning of world essence? Tai Tiany is facing Lin Ling and he is actually burning his world essence. Everyone cried out in alarm. From this, it could be seen just how much importance Tai Tiany placed on Lin Ling. Risking his life? Lin Ling didn't think that Tai Tiany would choose to burn his world essence. This was because the side effects of burning world essence were too great. There was even a chance he would become a cripple. This was the life-saving card of a World King powerhouse. Unless they were in a life or death situation, no one would use it. It can't be considered a life or death struggle. This is because after I burn my world essence I can thoroughly erase you. As for me, I will only be slightly wounded. Tai Tiany raised his right hand high up. Beast flames and world essence fused together in his palm, forming a giant sphere. If one looked carefully, they would see that this was a world. It was like he was holding up a world to kill Lin Ling. How terrifying! Retreat! Ma Nan and the others all drew back. They finally saw what a true genius of the martial god world was like. Then they stared at Lin Ling, wanting to see whether or not Lin Ling would panic. However, they were all disappointed. Lin Ling only frowned a little. "Lin Ling, do you know fear now? My world essence combusts. That is enough to erase a second-level World King powerhouse. Retreat!" However, Tai Tiany thought that Lin Ling was beginning to feel fear. Thus, his self-confidence grew even stronger. "I approve. Retreat!" Chapter 2336. Unable to withstand a single blow, haha. I thought you didn't know the power of my realm essence. However, you are quite knowledgeable. Then before you die, you should leave behind some words. Tai Tiany laughed wildly. He was obviously very excited because Lin Ling already knew that he couldn't stop his realm essence from burning. Therefore, Lin Ling must be panicking and regretting that he didn't kill him last time. He might even be thinking of escaping. However, Tai Tiany didn't know that all of this was just his own arrogance. I want to say that in a battle between cultivators, whoever controls more power won't necessarily win. Sometimes if you have a good hand but can't use it, then everything is just empty talk. Sigh. Lin Ling shook his head and said. In the next moment, he finally made his move. A mysterious boundary essence flowed from the bottom of Lin Ling's feet into the desert. The terrifying boundary essence was formless and colorless, like a bomb exploding. This was an earth-shattering explosion. Tai Tiany was still enjoying Lin Ling's expression. However, at this time, the old man's expression changed drastically and he roared. "Young Master Tai, be careful." The old man obviously sensed that Lin Ling had made his move. Tai Tiany's eyes narrowed as a terrifying sense of danger descended. In the next moment, A huge light pillar rushed out from under his feet and rose from the ground. It was as if it could destroy the world. No! Tai Tianyi roared and wanted to dodge, but it was obviously too late. At the same time, Lin Ling's voice floated into his ears. Burning your realm essence can indeed increase your attack power by a large amount. However, what's the use if your defense isn't strong? These words made Tai Tianyi realize that he had always wanted to kill Lin Ling in one move. However, he didn't consider whether he could use his move. Moreover, before he made his move, what if Lin Ling made his move? How could he block it? Everything was as Lin Ling said. If he had a good hand but couldn't use it, then everything was just empty talk. Boom! With all kinds of confusion, Tai Tianyi was blasted into pieces by the light pillar. Even his realm essence exploded, causing the sand to tumble like waves. Killed in one move. Young Master Tai Tianyi is dead. Sensing that terrifying fluctuation, Ma Nan and the others seemed to have forgotten how to breathe. Tai Tianyi, the genius of Taiding Commandery, was about to enter the 3 big academies of Qingzhou. He was the idol of all the geniuses from all over the world. He came to kill Lin Ling because he thought that Lin Ling would definitely die. But in the end, Tai Tianyi couldn't even withstand a single blow. And Lin Ling's entire process was clean and efficient. This was what a true genius was like. This was because geniuses who had truly fought tens of thousands of battles could use their various advantages to easily defeat experts of the same level. In fact, as long as the enemy revealed the slightest weakness, they would be killed in a single blow. And this was still a guide in their eyes? Of course, it wasn't just Ma Nan and the others who were shocked. Even the other experts were shocked. They knew that they had underestimated Lin Ling. Impressive. Impressive. Young Master Tai's role in this plan is not light. His strength is not weak, and you are only a guide. This led us to think that you are weak. Who would have thought that your role in this plan is even more important than young Master Tai's? The old man deeply looked at Lin Ling. He's just too excited. Lin Ling appeared on the other side, neither happy nor sad. Good, good, good. Then we won't underestimate you anymore. We must kill you, otherwise we won't be able to answer to Sun Bone. As for me, I am a second-stage world king and we have 5 people on our side. Do you think we can kill you? Lin Ling's calm demeanor caused the old man's heart to become even more dignified. This was a terrifying monstrous genius. We can't. Lin Ling slowly drew his sword. With the tyrant's song in hand, he vanished. Dodge domain. His strength had greatly increased. He had always wanted to fight to his heart's content, and now he had such a battle. Heart flute sword form. He soon appeared in front of a first-stage world king powerhouse and slashed out with his sword. You are seeking death. The powerhouse angrily shouted. He didn't think that Lin Ling would be the first to come and kill him. A giant staff appeared in his hand. With the strength of a world, he wanted to roll over Lin Ling. He was also a first-stage world king with a stable boundary, but Lin Ling wasn't. He was confident that Lin Ling wouldn't be able to block his staff. Bang! The sword and staff collided, the sound deafening. However, in the next moment, the powerhouse discovered that Lin Ling's world essence wasn't as stable as his. But Lin Ling's body had a different kind of strength gushing out from him, supporting his sword. What is this? The powerhouse cried out in alarm. In the World King realm, world essence isn't the only thing that matters. Other domains can also be strengthened. Lin Ling lightly said. The sword in his hand slashed downwards, neither fast nor slow. Kacha! The power of vibration appeared. The giant staff began to crack apart. The powerhouse's pupils shrank and a sword mark appeared on his neck. His throat had been cut open. And this sword had borrowed the strength of the godly demon body to form a powerful attack. After all, the godly demon body was comparable to the strength of a world. It's your turn. Lin Ling chased after him. His blue and white robes fluttered in the wind like clouds. His sword slashed out once more. Heart of the flute sword form. This sword seemed slow, but it actually had its own rhythm to it. This was the ultimate sword Dao. Clang! The powerhouse on the other side couldn't block Lin Ling's sword and was also killed. In truth, his boundary was the same as Tai Tianyi's, but he wasn't much stronger. He was only relying on numbers. He died again. This boy is a bit strange. The remaining 3 looked as if they were facing a great enemy. They didn't think that just by fighting a guide, 2 of them would be cut down like vegetables. Don't meet him head on. Someone roared out. Dragon painting finishing touch. A sword shot out, moving at the speed of a world. Just as that person finished speaking, his neck was pierced through by a sword. If we don't meet force with force, then in terms of speed, none of you can compare to me, Lin Ling lightly said. Then, he slashed out with his sword once more. As for the old man, as he watched Lin Ling fight several people like the Son of God, his pupils widened. This was because he had never seen such a strong first-stage world king before. Moreover, he discovered that not only was Lin Ling's mortal body formidable, but his worldly origin martial arts were also extremely fierce. His martial arts had likely reached the second level. It had to be known that the first stage of the World King realm was only the boundary of a second-stage worldly origin martial art. Look over here, moon in the water. At this time, a jade flute appeared in one of the powerhouse's hands. With a light blow, the surrounding space began to distort, like the reflection of a moon in a mirror. As for him, he also began to distort, making it difficult for others to distinguish between reality and illusion. Sun Jin, take this chance to kill him. The powerhouse immediately shouted out. This was because Lin Ling had entered the control of his worldly origin martial art. This move of his was a high-grade martial art, but he had cultivated it to the peak. It could be said to be both offensive and defensive. What is that? He's distorted. Fuck. On the ground, Shi Wenba and the others' eyes trembled. They simply couldn't understand a battle of this level. It was too strong. Brat, prepare to die. Die. Another powerhouse took this chance to attack. Chapter 2337. Battle World King Second Stage. It's useless, I can distort everything. This sword was aimed at the flute-playing powerhouse. He sneered, but his smile soon froze. This was because he discovered that although the sword was also distorted, it was still able to pierce through the chaotic space and shoot straight towards him. Impossible! The powerhouse's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. This was because the sword was no longer straight and was twisted from side to side. If so, then how could the sword wielder know who he was trying to assassinate? This feeling was like grabbing onto a rope. The rope was twisted and powerless, making it impossible to use the rope to assassinate his opponent. But in the next moment, a sword mark appeared on his neck. This sword strike told him that all of this was possible. As a swordsman, if you can't even see your own sword, then how can you talk about practicing the sword? Lin Ling appeared in front of him at the same time, his sword pointing at his neck. Lin Ling possessed the myriad demon eyes, so playing with space distortions in front of him was useless. Shwa! Then, Lin Ling threw the person on his sword aside. Without even looking behind him, he slashed out with his sword. The powerhouse behind him attacked, but it was too late. The great saber in his hand bloomed with thunder, crackling like lightning. But before he could cut down Lin Ling had cut him in half. Now, you are the only one left. Lin Ling's eyes also fell on the old man. The old man floated in the skies, his eyes sweeping over the dead man. His pupils became increasingly dignified. Before, he didn't think that Lin Ling could win. This was because they had more people and also because he was at the second stage of the World King realm. But now, Lin Ling had told him that the advantage of numbers was no longer there. My evaluation of you is already very high, but I clearly underestimated you. I thought that your most fierce aspect was your familiarity with the 8 gods' heavenly palace, but I didn't know that your most fierce aspect was your monstrous growth rate. The old man slowly said, causing Lin Ling to shake his head. Although you praise me, I will not underestimate you. I know, because a genius like you who rose from the myriad worlds must have experienced many twists and turns, rich battle experience, and always calm. Moreover, I also know that you want to use me to test the limits of your battle strength. Then let's fight. The old man was clearly quite famous in the martial god realm. He did not panic, but instead released a terrifying aura. Thank you. Lin Ling nodded his head lightly. He gripped his sword and prepared to fight. Boom, boom. Above the desert, an intense battle broke out. The two of them fought from the ground to the sky, and from the sky to the ground. Even the sand beasts hidden underground were shaken to death. The more the old man fought, the more shocked he became. He had cultivated for 5,000 years and fought countless battles. He had even taught tens of thousands of disciples. Therefore, he had always wanted to find Lin Ling's weakness. However, he discovered that Lin Ling was too perfect. Lin Ling was strong in every domain. He had no idea where to start. Sometimes, just as he found Lin Ling's weakness, Lin Ling would make up for it in the next moment. Most importantly, Lin Ling began to comprehend his martial arts. This kind of guy was really abnormal. His comprehension ability was too terrifying. If this continues, he will only become stronger. I must use my ultimate technique, otherwise, I will definitely lose. After another collision, the old man immediately floated back. A mysterious copper lamp appeared above his head. The wick of the lamp was burning, emitting a strange light that enveloped the old man's body. Looks like you are prepared to fight to the death, but you are not burning your realm essence? On the other side, Lin Ling looked at the old man indifferently. Not everyone is very powerful when burning their realm essence. If there is a trump card stronger than burning realm essence, then why would you burn your realm essence? Shake. The old man shook his head. Your eyesight is fierce. You don't seem like a genius that has just risen up, but instead like a powerhouse that has seen a great deal of the world. Thus, I won't hide it from you. This is the painting mystic tendon lamp art. Once the lamp appears, the painting will refine my tendons, turning my muscles and blood vessels into world tendons. Shake. This cultivation method is truly mysterious. Moreover, there shouldn't be any side effects. No wonder you don't burn your realm essence. Shake. Lin Ling's eyes flashed with surprise. Even so, he lightly said. This is the strongest low-level second-level martial art. With this martial art, as long as I am on the same boundary as a martial artist, I will be invincible. Shake. The old man's clothes tore apart. His muscles were like dragons, twisting like fried dough. It was a shocking sight. In an instant, he had transformed into a muscular man. Moreover, he instantly grew taller, reaching 10 meters in height. The strength of his realm essence was terrifying. World-opening giant. Staring at this tall and sturdy old man, Xueqi and the others only had this thought. This meant that before a world was born, there was a powerhouse that forcefully tore apart that world, allowing that world to grow into a stable sky. And in order to accomplish this, one undoubtedly needed a formidable strength. The powerhouses of Martial God World are truly terrifying. If that old man were placed in my world, he would have been able to easily kill everyone. Xueqi muttered to himself. His horizons had been broadened. Lin Ling is still the fiercest. He can actually fight with that old man until now. The young girl beside him also had an even richer look of worship in her eyes. Bang! A terrifying aura surged outwards. Smoke and fog filled the air. A giant stood in the middle of the fog. Lin Ling, if you cannot block my martial art, then you will die. Bang! After this voice, the desert exploded. Sand rained down like rain. A figure shot towards Lin Ling like a bolt of lightning. Very quickly. This giant seemed tall and sturdy, but his speed was also astonishing. As for Lin Ling, he calmly stood in the skies. In his pupils, the thick flames of war began to boil. After reaching the first level of the World King realm, this was indeed his most intense battle. Shwa! The tyrannical song sword was raised high by Lin Ling. As he looked at this mottled ancient sword, his smile became even wider. This sword had followed him for a long time. It had been filled with blood and sweat, life and death. These were rare memories. Old friend, you never thought that we would fight side by side in Martial God World. Lin Ling smiled. He gently danced with his sword. Although his speed seemed slow, the skies were actually filled with sword shadows. All sorts of sword martial arts bloomed in a dazzling light. What are those swords? On the ground, everyone cried out in alarm. Those are the sword skills he cultivated. Xueqi solemnly spat out. His fists were tightly clenched. He never thought that the disparity between him and Lin Ling would be so great. He was unwilling to accept this. There are at least several 100 million sword skills there. How did he cultivate them all? How could he cultivate so many sword skills? On the side, the young girl's voice trembled. She finally understood why Lin Ling was so strong. This was his accumulation. Lin Ling's martial arts accumulation had surpassed their imaginations. Are you going to dance with your sword before you die? At the same time, the old man angrily shouted. Lin Ling was facing off against his powerful martial arts, but he was actually dancing with his sword. This was simply seeking death. Pop, 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 pop. His fist punched out. His arm was like a dragon, his muscles and bones twisting like fried dough. Although his mortal body wasn't strong, the suppressed power of his world essence was terrifying. He wanted to kill Lin Ling with a single punch. This punch was like two worlds rushing towards the skies. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.